fourth episode of the Film Inquiry podcast. Each episode features myself, Alex Lyons, as I'm joined by two of our writers each month to tackle a different film and all the questions and angles that arise from breaking down these new films. As it is the end of the year and we've missed podcasting about some of the bigger releases such as Star Wars, Spectre and Hateful Eight, we decided to go all out and have us three go through our top 10 films of the year and discuss exactly why we like them so much. In today's episode, I'm joined by reoccurring guest Alistair Ryder from the UK and first time on the podcast Mike Barringer from the US, who unfortunately had some technical difficulties, which is why we love Skype so much. We briefly talk about Star Wars The Force Awakens before we decide it's kind of been done to death. So we kind of jump into our top 10 films of the year, and then at the end, of course, like always, we decide to crap on all the films that we really disliked from 2015. We don't go too much into the negative, but it is worth pointing out that 2015 did have some dodgy titles. So, sit back, and thank you for listening.
With Star Wars, I thought it was alright, Alistair loved it, and Mike hates it.
It's true. I hated it.
So, have you rewatched it yet, Alistair?
Star Wars, yeah, I've seen Star Wars twice now, The Force Awakens. So,
And anything change in your second
I'm firmly in
view?
the loving it camp.
Oh, so you just like it more after watching it a second time?
No, I felt exactly the same way. Obviously, I've got some more problems with it after seeing the second time. There is one plot hole that's just quite irritating, and I just attribute that to lazy writing. But the rest of it is done with such love and attention, and like for the franchise and the characters, that it's hard to not, for it to not be infectious, for you to not feel the exact same as J.J. Abrams feels about, this world.
What's the plot hole?
The plot hole, well, it's right at the end. It's just like R2-D2 could have just turned himself on earlier, and then it just would have saved like the entire half hour. If all he was going to do is just randomly turn on, then he could have just, turned on.
I feel like the whole last 20 minutes are like really poorly written.
Okay.
Only because the R2-D2 stuff, the whole thing of Han dying and just no one really gives a crap. Princess Leia just Mike's died.
Yeah.
Give me a sec.
This is what happens on a fully international call today.
Yeah. Let me see if I can.
This is going to be one of those podcasts that's going to take a lot of editing.
Yeah.
Not loading again.
It's doing the same thing it did to you.
Right.
Alright, give me a sec.
Third time lucky then?
No, it's still waiting for Mike. There he is.
Nice here. He's here.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
Weird.
All good?
Yeah, I hear you.
Alright,
You hear me?
Yep.
So
For now, anyway.
Cool.
okay, yeah. So
Okay.
the ending of Star Wars. Yeah, so pretty much like the whole fight scene and all that's fine, but it's pretty much after they get back to the Rebel base, and it's the R2-D2 randomly turning on. It's no one gives a crap that Han Solo dies. It's Princess Leia just looking at Rey and knowing who she is, even though she really has no right to know who she is. Like, why do they hug?
Yeah.
It doesn't really make any sense. And then the awkward helicopter shot at the end with Luke.
I don't know. Everybody I've spoken to seems to have liked that final shot. They just don't like the length that it goes on for.
It's awkwardly long.
Yeah. It's just like Michael Haneke came in to just Michael Haneke came in and just like thought, yeah, fuck it, I'll just do a long take for this final shot. Like, it's weirdly long. It could be like cut 10 seconds
Yeah.
down. Like, we get it. It's
If Michael Haneke did a Star Wars movie, that'd be amazing. That'd be like if done Return of the Jedi.
It'd have to be like black and white. And it
yeah,
only.
and entirely in German or French as well.
Yeah, Max von Sydow would have been the main character.
Exactly.
And
he wouldn't have just awkwardly had an opening scene and that's it.
Yeah.
He would be pretty much the main character.
Yeah.
Now, like, because you pretty much just outright hate it, don't you, Mike?
I did. The opening shot, I mean, right after the scroll, the crawl, I thought was pretty ingenious. I mean, they kind of, take the image of the new, the new Death Star Destroyer, and kind of, flip. Kind of
Technical difficulties.
Is inversing the darkness covering the light. I thought that was really clever. Hello? Oh. Hello?
Yeah, you're just cutting out a bit.
Yeah.
Whoa.
It was good. We heard bits of that sentence.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, the first shot was ingenious, right?
Mine? Yeah. Do you need me to say it all over again?
Yeah, you're cutting out pretty frequently.
Yeah.
Is it me?
Talk again?
Me?
Yeah, that's better.
Yo.
That's better.
Weird.
Alright, so yeah, we kind of like only got the start of that point, but yeah, it kind of trailed off pretty quickly.
So, well, I like the opening shot after the crawl, the scroll thing. With the new Star Destroyer coming in, covering up the moon, like the dark side covering the light. That was pretty ingenious. And then right after that, I felt the oh no, because immediately we're down on Jakku with Poe, who we don't know anything about, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, other than he's a badass pilot. Talking to Max von Sydow, and I thought there would be some sort of exploring more of who Max von Sydow's character was, and then all of a sudden he's killed, and I don't know, everything just felt rushed and jumbled. And then I started to notice, this is a new hope, like, not necessarily scene for scene, but in the big broad strokes of acts. And then when we got to the end with the death of Han, that really just kind of forced me over the edge.
Were you sad that he died, or just how they did it?
I don't know. It felt too much like the Obi-Wan scene. I mean, not the Death Star. Just doesn't do it, and I didn't feel like the emotion. It doesn't. Character-wise, it felt unnatural because Han and Rey kind of have a thing. She's not. Maybe she's related because maybe she's Luke's daughter, but it doesn't. The thing that works in A New Hope is that Obi-Wan gives himself so that way Luke can experience the Force and begin to let go of materials. Whereas with this, Rey, it doesn't change anything for Rey. It doesn't change anything for Finn. It only really matters to us because Han has been around for like 30, 35 years. So that was kind of like that. That's how it came across. So yeah.
But still, they are underacting at his death quite severely, even though they've only known him a few days. It's just like, yeah, show some emotion. Only Chewbacca's putting in the effort here.
Sure. And instead of Luke firing the shots at Chewie and blang, and instead of Han, being in this really intimate kind of enclosed setting, it's in this huge space on this huge catwalk, and it just felt like I don't know what the right word would be. Not overindulgent. Oh, sorry, I'm having a brain fart. It's like when somebody overcompensates. It's overcompensating in visuals for lack of connection in thematics and narrative structure, I guess I would say. And that kind of stuff bothered me. A third Death Star, even though it's not really a Death Star, it's a Star Killer. You know, it's just it's a Death Star that's bigger and they can blow up more planets. It's like all these things that we've seen before just coming back and they're being recycled, and not for any improvement or to turn the conventions on their heads. It's just there to exist because we remember it and we're familiar with it, you know. So yeah,
I'm coming from a place where I didn't previously care for Star Wars because I didn't think George Lucas was a good enough writer, and he had screenplay credits on all the previous 6 films, and for it to see a film that does just, in fairness, just rehash these beats, but in a way that's well written and sort of with characters who actually have casual conversations and aren't just sort of spouting, exposition constantly. It was a breath of fresh air for me. So even though people who've grown up with a franchise is just sort of, I can understand why they'd be tired with these narrative beats. For me, somebody who's indifferent, seeing them, executed in a way that feels, somewhat human is, it's a joy.
Yeah, that makes sense. Alex, did you grow up on Star Wars?
No, I never. I remember just not caring about him at all. Not like hating him, but I just never cared about him. Like I hated Indiana Jones as a kid for some reason. But I like him now. But I was a weirdo as a kid.
Yeah, no, I get the indifference to Star Wars. I never cared either way. But I did love Indiana Jones, so we're not fully matched there.
Like I wanted to only watch. Like my only reason for watching this new one was because it's like you're kind of forced to, especially if you're writing for a film website. So yeah, I saw it opening day and I enjoyed it for a mainstream blockbuster film, but yeah, like I struggled to put it in my top 10 of the year.
Yeah, it firmly went in my top 10, and I was surprised by myself at this, because, my top 10 goes all over the place, from mainstream to art house.
Yeah.
So, it's never a given what will end up in my top 10, and the fact that a Star Wars film has ended up in my top 10 was something that I never really foresaw, even with the cast and J.J. Abrams as a director, who I really like.
Mine was only in there by, proxy, because, I've seen a lot this, last year. I'm still tempted to call it this year. But there just wasn't that much I liked from last year.
Well, yeah, whenever you watch a film, you always do nitpick to, the tiniest degree as well.
Yeah, I do like to just break down the elements of what I liked and what I didn't like. I don't like scoring again. But, yeah, there's about 8 on my top 10 that I'm like, yeah, those are really good. And then the other 2 are just I liked them enough. That's why number 10 I had 3 choices. It was either Star Wars or Mistress America or I think Ex Machina or Spectre.
Okay, so it's I sort of liked them.
Yeah, they're all interchangeable in terms of liking them.
Yeah. I'm sure, most film critics have the same problem where they only really like about 8 of their top 10 in any given year.
And then there's a couple of pedigree ones they got to throw in there.
Yeah.
We'll put Spotlight in there, but,
That would probably explain why Spotlight is in so many top 10s.
Have you watched it yet?
I have seen Spotlight, yeah. It's fine. You can't really criticize it, but it just feels like a TV movie.
That's what I've heard a lot. Like a good HBO film. Yeah.
Hello.
Howdy, we have you, and then we just lost Alistair.
Okay.
Here we are, I think.
Right, I'm back.
All
Why
right,
did
cool.
it cut out for me?
All three of us are in.
Right.
Yay. But back into
So,
Star
where
Wars.
were we?
We're just kind of saying,
Did
like,
you guys hear anything I was saying?
not really. You just kind of died for a while.
Okay.
We should just,
I was just saying about.
Everybody reacting to Han's death, we just didn't care.
yeah. That's kind of where we lost you when you were talking about Han dying.
Was it that far back?
Yeah.
Oh boy. Well, I don't remember what I said.
Sorry, we weren't ignoring you.
No. Well, I heard you guys.
All right.
I don't know.
Yeah, that makes it even
So
more
there's-
awkward. Now it feels like I haven't been ignored.
Yeah, we're just going off on another tangent.
Yeah, I was just about to go into why Spotlight was average, but
Yeah.
let's go back to Star Wars.
Well, we can just we can move on if you guys want to. I mean, I don't know why this silly thing keeps dropping me. So, well, I'll just say one thing about Star Wars. Yeah, I did grow up with it, and I loved it as a kid. And it's just, to me, it's just so disappointing that they could have done whatever they wanted to, and kind of listen to what JJ's had to say over the past couple of weeks. You know, they had probably the problem with all major big movies and just how they make movies in general is because they sell by date set in some before they even have, you know, so they basically had date of, you know, December 18th all set to go, and they didn't even have the beginnings of the script yet, so then they have to turn and turn until it finally gets to the point of completing it, and, you know, for better or for worse, I don't know, this thing just completely rushed, and it's disappointing because they could have done whatever they wanted, but it just was like a reboot, sequel, remake of something that's already been done and done incredibly well.
My only thing is, because I thought the film was fine. I don't really think they can do whatever they want. That's the big problem. Because they're so restricted by, like, how, what's the good word for it? Fanatic? How fanatic the fans are?
Oh, yeah.
That they really have to kind of step on eggshells around them. And that's pretty much why The Force Awakens is why it is how it is. Is that they really have to tread lightly in terms of experimenting or trying to do anything different. Because, that's why this film is so safe.
Yeah, I agree with the whole thing about it being safe, but it is well written, and that just makes up for any sort of problems. A crowd-pleasing blockbuster actually works at being crowd-pleasing if the characters are entertaining.
I'm just glad it wasn't Jurassic World.
Jesus, yeah.
That's
how to do a reboot, guys. That is how to do a reboot.
I truly and utterly dislike that film.
Oh, yeah.
I was just so indifferent towards it. Like, a few of the action scenes in Jurassic World are all right, but, like, the problem is that the main kid in it, the sort of teenage one, the one who's always wearing headphones that are constantly being advertised, that kid is just... We're supposed to feel, like, identify with him, but the film opens with him basically trying to cheat on his girlfriend.
Well, it doesn't help that film has like 12 different subplots going on.
But somehow he knows how to fix cars.
Oh yeah,
He
he did it once. At some point.
That's all it needs to happen, you know. I did it once, I can surely do it effortlessly the next time.
In the next film, he'll just fly a plane. Oh, I flew a plane once.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Because, when you died just then, Mike, we're kind of getting into what our top 10 and top best and worst of the years were. And I'd put Jurassic World firmly in my top 10 worst of the year.
Fantastic.
So what do you want to go with? Do you want to go with favourites or worst first?
Favorites.
We'll go on to favourites then. Because I was saying, in my top 10 position, I'd like 4 different ones that were just rotated. Because I couldn't really pick, I struggled to fill a top 10 this year.
Yeah, okay. Well, they be?
I did write them. Give me a sec.
Mhm.
Because I always just chuck them up on Facebook every year.
Out of curiosity, do you usually have like difficulty coming with end of year lists, or was this year just unusual like that?
No, it was actually alright last year. There was actually quite a few, because last year had quite a few indie films I liked.
Okay.
Like, the Blue Ruin was really good. Cold in July was, like, awesome. And there was a couple other, like, smaller films, and like, bigger films I quite liked. Obviously, number one for me was The Raid 2, because I'm just obsessed with those films. But no, this year I had, like, 6 solids, and, like, the rest were just, like, oh, yeah. So, yeah, 10...
Just like perfectly fine.
Yeah. So 10,
Yeah.
I was swapping with Star Wars or Mistress America or Spectre or Ex Machina.
Ooh.
So they were like number 10, like whatever I felt like at the time. I've just seen Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, but I don't think that'd probably sit in like the top 20, but it still wouldn't go in the top 10.
Ooh.
Well,
I
you're
think like finding a top 20 may be your most difficult task this year.
Oh my god. I'd actually just sit on Wikipedia for like half an hour, just like going like, oh, I liked that one scene. That'll go on there. What was your guys' number 10?
Mine number 10. I will just have to, because I've got a list saved somewhere, so I'll let Mike speak first.
Okay. Well, I'm going around with this because I have like my top 3, top 6 or 7. So right off the bat, I'm gonna say I'm gonna go with It Follows at number 10.
Oh yeah.
I think, I really liked it. The music, kind of in the Hateful Eight too. The music really kind of sells that. The music in It Follows really, I just thought was a wonderful throwback, and in the right way without being too campy and too corny. It was like the right kind of 80s synth that just perfectly complemented the picture.
Now, how do you feel about the ending?
Oh, I love the ending. I think the ending is great. For me, it was a huge revelation. I just loved it, and I wanted to jump out of my seat.
Like the whole pool sequence.
Okay.
And
Let me ask you. How do you interpret the ending?
I meant more so like the kind of climax in the whole like the gym sequence.
Okay, sure. That was fine. And that was interesting. I mean, I didn't have kind of the problems with like Quentin Tarantino had with there kind of being a loose kind of a set of rules about what it is and what it can and can't do. That was like whatever. It's whatever. It's it. I don't know what it can and can't do. But then at the end, when the friend is reading the passage from The Idiot by Dostoevsky, and she basically reveals that it isn't like a demon or anything, then that it's actually death, and that death is this constant thing that's always following you, and you can't get rid of it. I thought that was just phenomenal. I thought that was a great revelation. So.
Yeah, I really liked It Follows too, but it's not in my top 10. My problem with when I watched it was the fact that I watched it at the cinema I work at, and during the final scene, which is like great and ambiguous, then they just put the house lights up halfway through the scene, so it's like, right, I now know this is an ambiguous final scene. Thank you,
right.
Cinema.
Is that like an automatic thing, or did someone just do that because they're an idiot?
No, it should be a sort of automatic thing. Like on Fridays, if you're like working upstairs, checking all the screens, you have to, on the first showing, you have to go in, if you're working upstairs, and make sure that the house lights come on at the right point. And I saw It Follows on a preview screening midweek, so nobody had obviously been able to go in and check because it was the only screening. And so, it just came on halfway through the end scene, and it was like, right, I would have really enjoyed this if I didn't know it was the last scene.
If the cinema wasn't kicking you out as you're watching the movie.
Yeah,
like there was a fire in the building.
It was just like, right, this is the end of the film.
What's your number 10?
My number 10 is, actually, your joint number 10. It's Ex Machina.
Ooh.
By technicality.
By
Oh.
technicality, although by me it's due to actually liking it, and I've just realised number 9 is also one of your top 10 by technicality.
Yay.
So yeah, Ex Machina, it came out in the UK like the start of last year and has been pretty consistently in my top 10 since then. I think that the whole AI thing has been overdone this year. I'm bored of artificial intelligence now, and this is pretty much a great swan song for AI in cinema. Yeah, I think it's well acted. I think it has the scariest scene of dancing in any film ever, and I think Alicia Vikander deserves to be like pretty much the biggest actress in the world at some point soon, because this is her best performance here.
Oh, she's great in it.
Yeah, I really liked the film. It would sit in my top 20. Oh, well, I had it at number 10. Sorry, I was thinking of It Follows still. But, I don't know if I'm a super fan of the ending. That's probably,
Ex Machina.
that's probably the
Yeah.
only thing preventing me from putting it higher.
Like when she reveals her entire motive, or
Yeah,
Oh,
that
what-
and just like what happens to Oscar Isaac is Nathan, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that was a bit easy. Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't a super fan of the ending. I felt a bit like for what such a genius Nathan was, and that he would have had something better set up.
Yeah, it
Like
also feels like the
security-wise or
default
something.
ending to any AI film.
Yeah.
As well.
It
Just
felt
like,
it felt like a bit
oh,
of a
they've achieved higher consciousness, and now they're moving out.
yeah. It felt like a bit quick and easy ending. But apart from that, I thought it was well acted, well scripted, and
yeah,
like a good episode of, like everyone said, it's like a good episode of Black Mirror.
Yes, and also Donald Gleason was in an episode of Black Mirror as well, so
Yep.
that furthers the connection.
Did you guys see the PGA nominations today?
Nah.
I didn't.
It's for the Producers Guild, and Ex Machina is one of them. So there's a real high chance that it's going to get a Best Picture Oscar nomination.
The like
pretty
different
cool.
awards have been like all over the place this year.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then I don't remember all of them, but there's also The Martian and Mad Max in there. So there's 3 potential sci-fi movies going into the Best Picture race, which for me is outstanding because how many sappy dramas and historical pictures have won.
Yeah,
It's like let's give sci-fi a do.
especially after last year when like Interstellar, or 2 years ago now, Interstellar was such
Yeah.
a dud.
Yeah. And I guess Lord of the Rings is like the closest we've ever come to having
Pretty hard.
sci-fi movie kind of win. So
Well, have you seen
we'll
the,
see. We'll see.
like I thought the Golden Globe nominations were just terrible this year.
They
Oh.
were really bizarre. Like, The Martian is probably going to win Best Comedy, despite the fact it's not a comedy.
Right.
And Spy and Trainwreck have also nominated for Best Comedy. And I
Yeah.
know Alex is a big fan of both of those films.
Oh yeah, totally. So number 9, I had, because I'm pretty sure this is a 2015 film. Like Australia got it in 2015, so that's why I'm counting it. But it was the documentary Lost Souls: The Doom Journey of Richard Stanley's Island of Dr. Monroe.
I don't even think that's come out over here. I'll just check. I'm pretty sure that's not even come out here.
Oh, I've never even heard. What's it called?
A Lost Soul. It's like called Lost Souls. Then like the tagline is the doomed journey of Richard Stanley's Island of Dr. Monroe.
Really rolls off the tongue.
It's a really, really good documentary about, technically Richard Stanley's Island, Dr. Monroe, which was directed by John Frankenheimer in the end. It's the infamous one with Marlon Brando and Val Kilmer,
Right.
and it
Yeah,
pretty
It's a
much
2015 film. It came out in February in America, but it premiered at festivals in 2014.
oh, okay, that's what I thought. Yeah,
You can include it. You're allowed.
yay. It's just like it because obviously it's one of those films that have so many rumors behind it about like what Brando did on set and what Val Kilmer did, and it kind of goes through the inception of like Richard Stanley himself, because it's the first time in like 15 years or however long it's been that Richard Stanley's even talked about the film. And so it kind of is from Richard Stanley's perspective, and they actually get quite a lot of the people that were involved, like the extras, a lot of the actors apart from the obvious ones. And they really just go through and just shows you how a big Hollywood film like this can just crumble and fall apart. And it's just really funny as well.
I remember reading. I've never seen The Island of Doctor whatever. I can't even pronounce it anymore. It's early, but I've never seen it. But I've always heard bizarre stories about Marlon Brando's sort of input to the film, like what he wanted as twists. He apparently wanted to wear a hat for the entire film, and then the final scene, take it off and reveal that he had a sort of dolphin blowhole on his head.
Yeah, and the twist was that he was a dolphin the entire time.
Yeah.
That was actually a true story that the producer tells, that they were driving around one day, and when he told him that, the producers looked at each other and realized that the film was just over.
Oh, that sounds so fantastic. It kind of sounds like Did you guys see Joe Dworsky's Dune last year?
No, I've been meaning to.
Oh, it's fantastic. It was my favorite movie of 2014, and it kind of sounds similar, this huge project that was about to. Well, I mean, obviously, oh gosh, what's it called? The actual movie of Dr. Moreau got made, but yeah, it sounds kind of similar. So it sounds fantastic.
Yeah, it's a lot more comedic than what Jodorowsky's Dune.
Yeah.
But no, it's really entertaining.
And of course, this year we've also had that documentary about Superman Lives. So I think it's just now the age of sort of documentaries speculating on what cinema history, is or could have been.
Yeah, no, there's quite a few now. There's another one coming out soon, which, if I was good, I would actually remember what it was about. Oh well. What was your number 9?
Me?
Yeah, should we go Mike first?
Yeah, we'll go Mike.
Me? Oh boy. Shoot. I'll probably say Ex Machina.
Yeah, I was one I didn't know if you liked or not.
Yeah. I loved it. It might go higher. I don't know. I'll say that for now.
And Alistair?
My number 9 was a little indie picture called Spectre.
Oh, Spectre.
Yeah. Again, it's another case of franchise things where I wasn't a fan of the franchise of James Bond until Daniel Craig took over and it was sort of rebooted as a modern action movie, but still with the silliness of the old Bond films inherent, but they just now take it seriously. It isn't just sort of Roger Moore raising an eyebrow oh, we're not supposed to, find any of this comedic. It's now... It fully accepts the ridiculousness of the world is just something we have to take at face value, which I like. I like that it has the courage of its convictions. It has the most spectacular action sequences the Bond franchise has ever committed to. And when people repeatedly have had a backlash against Spectre and said it was boring, I'm still confused at that assessment because I was not remotely bored.
Yeah, I think the common criticism is more so the storyline and where they choose to go with it.
Yeah, I liked how it sort of ties up all the films in Daniel Craig's, Bond filmography and manages to do the bizarre feat of making Quantum of Solace worthwhile. That is a dull movie, and Spectre justifies its existence effortlessly. Yeah,
and I like how they kind of acknowledging it, it happened.
It's the next movie to acknowledge the Star Wars Holiday Special, which is still part of the Star Wars canon, hasn't officially been denounced.
Yeah, that's like how in Captain America Civil War, they've got the bad guy from the Hulk. So they're it counts. I quite liked Spectre. My big problem was I think the villains sucked.
Yeah,
they really didn't.
Christoph Waltz doing Christoph Waltz.
Yeah, they really didn't give him much to do, directing or script-wise. It just felt like Sam Mendes was just like, "Oh, go be evil," and he was just like, "Oh, all right then."
And Christoph Waltz was like, "Yeah, because I do that in pretty much every film.
Yeah.
You don't need direct
Yeah,
it,
so he was just kind of like, waving his hand. You'll be all right. But apart from that, I quite liked it.
Yeah, I also like how these Bond films have really made sort of, I don't know, they form an emotional connection. They're not just sort of arch and, trying to be funny. They actually are asking for an emotional connection. There's nothing too silly to sort of stop you caring about the characters. So, Bond's relationships with women actually stops being a problem and actually starts being something, that the franchise is trying to correct.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. If they do another film
I
with
worded that terribly. I'm sorry.
yeah, if they do another like Daniel Craig film, like I just don't want it to be another origin story.
Yeah. And Christoph Waltz said just the other day that he will only do another Bond film if Daniel Craig does another Bond film. So, yeah, let's look forward to never seeing Christoph Waltz in a Bond film again, unless money.
Yeah. Because
Well, Alex.
Yeah.
Alistair, do you like Spectre over Casino Royale?
I think they're both on a par. I know I liked it
Okay.
more than Skyfall, because the first time I watched Skyfall, it didn't fully click with me until a rewatch. Because the first half of Skyfall, I for some reason found dull the first time I watched it. It wasn't until sort of the fight in the hotel in Shanghai where everything's just in darkness and the cinematography is just amazing. That's the moment when that film's clicking for me. But on a rewatch, it was like, yeah, I get it. But Casino Royale and Spectre are the two where it's just like they've gripped me from the opening. They've both got such audacious openings, and it's hard to not be won over by that. Even the Sam Smith song, I actually like. That's how much I like Spectre. That sort of video song is quite okay.
Yeah, I tried. I still don't like the song.
Well, I mean, it's the same thing with the Adele song for Skyfall. It's just like, take a depressing singer-songwriter who's famous because they've had an album about how they can't get a proper relationship, make them sing a song for Bond. It'll sound crap if you hear it on the radio, but when you see it in context, it clicks. Sam Mendes just knows how to make that work. Although Radiohead originally recorded the theme tune, and that was better. But
Yeah.
That would have.
You reckon they even like give it a best original song Oscar nomination?
I was going to say it's nominated for a Golden Globe, but what does that mean? There's a song at the end of Anomalisa that I think's original, so that should probably win. But I'm not fully sure that it is original because I didn't bother researching. I just thought, it must be an original song. I think it said lyrics by Charlie Kaufman on IMDb, so it must be.
I think they'll give best song to the one from Fast and the Furious.
Yeah, I haven't even seen the new Fast and Furious, but I've heard that song's been hard to not hear on a constant
Exactly.
loop. God, it's just so dreary and just commercial radio friendly.
Which one is it?
See You Again by Charlie Puth and who's the rapper?
Oh, his name's like Wiz Khalifa?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
You work at a bar, you must have heard it.
I probably have. I'm so old, though, that I don't... I'm like 10 years older than you guys, so I don't know. I'm starting to get out of the loop of what's cool and what's not, so...
How I envy you being not in that loop. Because being on top of pop culture, it just means that you have to listen to so much shit.
They really did drown that song.
So yeah, shall we move on to number 8 in the list?
Yep. So number 8, sorry I've gotten rid of my list. It was...
Yeah.
I'm just going to give it to Sicario.
Ooh.
Okay.
When I first watched it, because I had like it was in one of like our advanced screening ones. I remember I was with a friend and we were both like, that was alright. And just kind of like, yeah, whatever. And then kind of just didn't talk about it. But then, I don't know, as I was kind of talking about it with people after they'd seen it and kind of thinking about it more, it kind of grew on me a lot more.
Have you rewatched it since then, or are you just going by, like,
Going by
memory?
Going by memory, it's out on Blu-ray, I think the end of the month here, which I'll definitely get it, and I'll definitely rewatch it. Because I really, really dug Benicio del Toro's character.
Yeah.
Yeah, his line. Skate's still wanting with this sequel with his character.
Sorry, cut out there for a sec.
I'm being silent just in case Mike
Really?
comes back in suddenly.
I said, okay. Did you get? I just asked if because last I'd heard is that Lionsgate wanted to do a sequel with his character.
Yeah.
Is that still in the works?
I'm gonna assume so, because when it was, because that was a film that went from limited to wide, and in limited it was doing incredibly well, which gave them the confidence to put it in production. But when it went wide, it only did it was alright, but nothing special. I reckon they'll still go through with it. I kind of hope they do, because that'd be sick.
Yeah.
But
somebody
That is also a sequel that's impossible to talk about without spoiling Sicario.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I remember the original pitch I heard was that obviously it's based on Benicio del Toro, but he needs the help of Emily Blunt's character. But
Okay, so they're gonna turn it into a buddy comedy. It's gonna be an odd couple scenario. She tried to kill him, but now they have to work together.
And the poster is them leaning back to back, but kind of looking at each other huh?
It's a shot-for-shot remake of Kevin Smith's Cop Out.
Yeah.
But with
It'll be 2017's answer to Paul Blart Mall Cop.
And it should be called Bros Before Sicarios.
Now, if the film isn't like this, I'm just going to be disappointed.
When it turns out, it's actually well written, well made, it's in the vein of Sicario, but you're like, damn, I wanted that buddy comedy.
Yeah, I'm just going to go, hit the bricks.
Oh, Mike's gone again.
Oh, really?
Yeah, well, he has on mine.
Yeah, no, that's him officially going. So, well, we'll get to your number 8 then, while we wait.
Mike will just reappear at some point. But my number 8 is a film that I actually rewatched last night as well, and it's still firmly in there. It's a Bridge of Spies, a Spielberg movie that some people think is average, and I think could soon be ranked along Spielberg's best. It's weird for a drama about an inspiring true life story to actually feel somewhat inspiring. I think that it does contain some of the best imagery Spielberg has ever, put to screen. It feels cinematic. It feels like it doesn't feel like a recreation of East Germany or America in that time period. It feels just like they're filmed in that time period. The production design is so immaculately realized. The screenplay that's being jigged up by the Coen brothers is hilarious, but also really engaging. It makes you, care about these characters. It's a very human film, but it's done with the same Coen quirk, just not fully done up to 11. It's the perfect blend of sensibilities.
Yeah, I saw it, and I definitely liked it. And I know he's kind of going for that kind of old school, the whole Frank Capra feel.
Yeah, I love how old-fashioned it is.
Yeah, and I do like that, and it's one of those films everything about it is solid, but it never really did anything new or raised above anything to kind of make me feel or make it memorable for me. I was just like, oh yeah, that was a good film.
Yeah,
and
it's just Tom Hanks becomes James Stewart for 2 hours, and it's just I have no problem with that. And that is enough, because Spielberg is obviously one of the best mainstream directors of, cinematic history. So it's great to see him actually being able to still produce new films that are as good as his old ones, that still have such great imagery that stands along with the best of his work. I mean, rewatching it again, there's so many little details just in the background that just feel effortless. Like when Tom Hanks goes to visit the lawyer, not the lawyer, the judge, and they're talking about how, sorry, words have completely left my mind. Whether or not he's going to get the electric chair or he's going to be given a prison sentence. And they're talking about the dubious legality of the case, and there's just like Nazi imagery on the television in the background that's just never called attention to. So it's just little details like that I really liked. It's Spielberg's best for a long time.
Like I'm fine with all the nominations that Mark Rylance is getting for Best Supporting Actor, but I don't think he just should win it.
Yeah, I feel the same. Like, I feel there are better supporting performances out there, but he is pretty brilliant in this, because he is like a Coen's creation, like fully. Like only the Coens could have fully realised that character in the way. And Rylance just plays it perfectly.
Yeah, he doesn't actually get that as much to do as I thought he would.
Yeah, and there is just like the entire middle section of the film where he just disappears completely. But the opening shot's great as well, where he's just drawing he's looking in the mirror and then he's just drawing a painting of himself, and it's just like, yeah, this is equal parts Coen brothers and Spielberg.
Yeah, it's just for me it was just perfectly fine, but yeah, there's nothing really there for me to kind of feel passionate about.
Fair enough.
Alex, were you done talking about Bridge of Spies?
Yeah, it's my number 8 of the year.
Okay.
So yeah, we'll just because I had Sicario, Alice has Bridge of Spies on. What was your one?
I'm trying to. I got like 3 or 4 that I'm debating about which ones. So I'll just make a tough decision. Say Shaun the Sheep.
Sitting just outside my top 10 actually is Shaun the Sheep.
Loved it.
I haven't seen it, so I can't really comment.
Yeah. Loved it.
Everyone does seem to love it.
It felt very Buster. It felt Buster Keaton-ish. There's no dialogue in it, which is fantastic, and it's all done in kind of the the kind of like perfect form of film, which is silent, which is everything is told through the visuals, and it was just a lot of fun. Aardman, so it's typically creative, and just I thoroughly enjoyed it, loved it.
Yeah, you don't get better than Aardman when they were just doing stop motion. Like their CG animated features are awful, and then you just see them do stop motion, and everything clicks into place.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen the Shaun the Sheep TV show, but immediately when I saw the film, I was just, I got it.
Yeah.
It's just it's cinema at its most simplistic and just most joyous.
Yeah. Yeah. They always say that it's show, not tell to movies, and this is just, pure 101. This is how you tell the story without any dialogue, and it was wonderful.
And one of the best films based on a TV show as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and I haven't seen the show either, so I don't know, anything really about it. So. But it was, thoroughly enjoyable. And here's the thing, though, I haven't seen Animal Diesel yet, so who knows, I could sneak in it for this as my number 8. So we'll see. I'm not decided on my number 8 yet, officially.
But your unofficial number 8, Shaun the Sheep.
Excellent. Number 7.
Number 7 is The Revenant.
Oh.
Yeah. I
Alistair, you haven't seen it, have you?
I have not seen The Revenant. No, I've almost seen The Revenant. I've seen the BBFC title card saying The Revenant rated 15, but I haven't seen The Revenant. I'm seeing it next week. I've almost seen it.
I quite liked it. I do have problems with it, but overall, I thought it was better than Birdman.
Yeah, that's what the general consensus seems to be, but the general public who have seen it, I've been told, are still equally confused by it.
Yeah, compared to Birdman, it's quite a straightforward, linear, pretty predictable revenge film.
Okay. Is there any more you can sort of go into without spoiling it, or is it one of those that it's just like
that's kind of the problem. Like, it's not so much of the story, because it is a true story, and you kind of know what the whole thing is that a guy who gets attacked by a bear and survives. So it's not so much the story; it's just kind of where the story goes. And the second half is kind of spoiler territory, or just really good moments that I don't want to spoil for people who haven't seen it.
Yeah.
Because
What I've been told is the bear attack is a great scene. The opening shot is apparently magnificent, but I think that's the shot at the start of the trailer. So I've seen a bit of that.
yeah, not so much the opening shot if you're going in it as that, because it's kind of done as a long take, but it's one of those like Birdman. It's a cheated long take, so a lot of digital editing and stuff. But
I feel like Mike's trying to speak.
Yeah, it does sound like this.
No. Well, I can sort of barely hear you guys. So I'm listening intently.
What are you
Right,
using?
Very, very cautious.
Yeah, it just sounds like, because there's so many crackles coming from your end, it just sounds like you're trying to speak.
No, I'm listening.
That's better.
It's you guys are trying to muffle, but I love the Revenant. I think it's gonna get. I'm putting it in my number 2 or number 3 spot. Lubezki's cinematography, it just seems to get better and better and better, and it kind of sucks because it's like Deakins needs a solid win, but gosh, after this movie, it's like, can cinematography get any better? And honestly, it can't. Like, he knows light, and he knows shadows, and he knows darkness, and he's so smart with what he does. And for me, the entire movie is just, it's kind of about that, it's about light and darkness. And, just the way he frames it, it's just wonderful. Like, my third favorite movie of all time is Barry Lyndon, which almost uses all natural light too, and so this was just this felt like a similar kind of callback to grandiose usage of a film.
It does feel like Iñárritu is auditioning to be the new Kubrick, like with all the production hell that has happened on this film.
Yeah.
The fact that he's using all natural light is just like, he wants to be Kubrick right now.
Yeah. Well, he's certainly not, but I
just need to go. There's a package being delivered at the door. Continue speaking without me.
Woo! Go get that package. Sorry, Alex.
Yeah. There you are.
You continue on with whatever you want to say about Le Revenant.
Well, no, I was just going to join on to your point of, like, when you go to judging like best cinematography, like in terms of the Academy Awards, like it is that whole thing of like, yeah, Emmanuel has won for 2 years, for Gravity and Birdman, but then like it'd be unfair to not give it to him purely for that fact.
Oh, it's just like, I know, and it's like you want somebody else to win it, but then you see it, and it's like, holy shit! Like,
you're like, what is better looking? Like, it's just kind of unfair.
Yeah. I mean, Hateful Eight, I thought, you guys haven't seen it yet, but that's really great. Deacon stuff in Sicario was great.
Any of the other two big opponents I could think of.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
Mad
I
Max,
feel like the top 10
technically.
list is incomplete until I've seen The Revenant or The Hateful Eight. At the minute, I'm having Hateful Eight problems because it's not showing in many cinemas here due to issues with the distributor. So it's now trying to find a multiplex that has, is capable of aspect ratio close enough to Tarantino's desired aspect ratio. And it turns out the cinema I work at is the closest, and the cinema I work at is terrible.
That sucks.
Yeah.
Because I'm seeing Hateful Eight Monday, so I can't have an opinion till then. But literally, all my friends have seen the screener and they all have opinions.
Yeah, a lot of my friends have seen the screener, and they said that I should just watch the screener because it's just a bunch of people in the room talking, and it's just like, no, it's Tarantino. I'm seeing it on the big screen.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to see it on the big screen at least the first time.
Yeah, no, like I've like a lot of my friends have watched the screener. Like people that I didn't expect to like the film are like loving it though.
I think that's probably the good thing to come out of screener season is that a lot of people who just download movies who aren't particularly into movies end up watching things that they wouldn't expect to enjoy and do. I remember like a few years ago when like the Black Swan screener leaked and like a load of my friends downloaded it and loved it.
Yeah, no, I tried to watch them like a couple of years ago, a year or two ago. I just can't do it.
Black Swan?
No, just screeners in general.
Oh.
Black Swan is fine. Like, I think this season, like, the ones that came out this year, they tried to cut out a lot of that, like, the screener text when it would come up saying, like, this is a screener copy. But
yeah,
I don't want to watch a film where, to cover up a screener logo, they chop the heads off.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, no,
But isn't that exactly the way the director intended it to be seen?
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure that, to watch Revenant on a laptop with cut off
in
heads.
like choppy 240p quality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's
Like,
the other thing. Is that they're
not
all
fully there.
like the max for all of them is 480p. Whereas, yeah, I don't really
So, yeah,
want to watch my
Yellow
movies
7
in
was the Revenant.
720.
Fellas,
Yeah, I'm here.
you guys still there?
Howdy.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, sorry, it
Yeah.
kind of choppy. What was the last thing said?
so what is your number 7?
Number 7? It's going to be Inside Out.
So, yeah, big fan of animated films this year then.
I guess so, yeah. Yeah, did you guys end up seeing when Marnie was there?
It hasn't come out in the UK yet. The Tale of Princess Kaguya came out this year, but I've excluded it from my top 10 simply because it came out everywhere else 2014.
Okay. Yeah, the animated movies seem to be, I don't know, they killed it this year. Well, I mean, The Good Dinosaur was kind of the exception, but, oh no, obviously, like, SpongeBob, I mean, that's obviously not going to be any good, but, Inside Out was, Pete Docter, just, he knows what he's doing. I wouldn't say he's necessarily Pixar's best director, because that's probably Brad Bird, but other than Brad Bird, I mean, Doctor's been the most consistent. He's done it again. And it's wonderful, too, because it's kind of like a kid version of Inception, but it seems, honestly, kind of more inventive and creative and successful.
It's like Inception if Christopher Nolan could write characters who didn't just exist as exposition machines.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's wonderful, and it's kind of funny because you get emotional about the things that happen in this movie, but it's not like anything really major happens. I mean, yeah, Bing Bong dies, but it's not like it's life or death, and all she does is run away, and then she goes back home, and it's incredibly effective and cathartic and rewarding. So, yeah, really just terrific as usual. Visually stunning. So, yeah, that's my number 7.
Did you guys watch? Sorry.
YouTube video doing the rounds of somebody edited Inside Out without all of the emotions, and it was just Riley's life without all the fantastical stuff that we see in her head, and it's just sort of mundane, like a badly done American version of one of Studio Ghibli's more social realist dramas.
Yeah.
I kept thinking.
Go
ahead.
I saw it floating around there, and I was like, I don't know. I'll let that thing go by.
How long is it?
I honestly can't remember. I didn't watch much of it.
It's
like I'll try and find it. Just a second. Here we go. Looking up something on the internet yet again. This makes for great podcast listening. Yeah, it's short and sad. That's the highlight on. That's the headline. Sorry, in the Time magazine article that came up first when I googled it. Inside Out. The inside part is short and sad, and but they for some reason compare the film to Boyhood if it doesn't have the inside scenes in the Time magazine article, which is a bit of a strange comparison.
Yeah, that doesn't exactly work.
My number 7 for the year is The Lobster.
Oh.
So, yeah.
That sits higher on my list, so I'll get to that.
Yeah. So, yeah, basically, I just found it very funny. I know it's divided people down the middle. Some people have fully got on board with it, sort of deadpan, surrealist sense of humour that sort of... I don't know, it feels very singular to this director. It would be easy to sort of compare it to Charlie Kaufman, but it's deadpan in such a way that it distinctively feels like a film by this director. I can't pronounce his name, so I'm not going to say his name, but the Greek director. Yeah, it's a bizarre thing where even though all of the performances are just consistently one note, they are some of the funniest and most engaging performances of the year. And that's sort of an allegory for, relationship troubles. It is very hard-hitting, surprisingly. It uses its sort of surrealness as almost like a sort of diversion to hide the fact that it does emotionally... it has a lot of emotional truth to it.
Did you see a pigeon sat on a branch reflecting on existence?
Yeah, I did see that earlier this year. I've watched quite a lot of stuff this year.
Yeah, I've been waiting to see The Lobster, and it just hasn't come on anywhere stateside yet. Is it similar to a pigeon?
I mean, they're both very deadpan European humour sensibilities. So in terms of humour, yeah, but it's deadpan and surreal, but that's about as far as the comparison goes.
Okay.
Yeah, no, the big problem is that, The Lobster isn't getting a proper American release till later on this year. So a lot of Americans that still haven't seen it. Which I kind of think, so I don't know if, in terms of award season, if it counts as 2015 or 2016.
Yeah, because it is a film that needs, like, a screenplay nomination.
Yeah, I'd like for it to get nominations, because I liked it so much, but I don't know, in terms of technicality, where it lies.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think they only count it as whatever comes out in America on any given year. So a film from 2010 could come out in America in 2015 and be nominated theoretically.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know. I have no idea how they kind of do that kind of international stuff too. I don't know when the cutoff date is.
It's annoying because I always do my end of year list to sort of comply with Oscar rules, and it just makes it a headache. So like a lot of my top 20, yeah. So like films like Whiplash, for example, they came out in the UK in January. They would be in my top 10, but they came out like in America in October 2014, so I can't include them because of Oscar rules.
Right. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was all of
Yeah,
our
it's weird.
sevens. So.
It's weird how all that kind of the international markets and stuff. It's always fascinating.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is, over here, like, some critics do include, like, those Oscar movies, and then some critics, like, make a point of excluding them, because it's like, well, we saw them in 2014, so they're 2014 films to us. And it's just like, oh, God, it makes it so difficult being a film fan internationally. Like, if I was in America, then I would have a very consistent best of list. But, yeah, not here.
Well, we'll start with number 6.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Number 6, I had Creed.
Okay.
I don't know. That was another one like Sicario. I walked out of it and I was just like, yeah, that was cool. I liked it. I had fun in the cinema, and I was just kind of driving home, and I was kind of, and then I had to go straight to work. And when I was at work, I was kind of thinking about it, and then someone was asking me about it, and I was like, yeah, I like that scene, and I kind of like that scene too, and they kind of just like built in my head, and I was like, I actually quite liked that film overall, especially because I had to review it for the site, so I was kind of, going back and reading over a lot of stuff, and kind of made me realize how much I actually dug it in the end.
Mike's gone again.
Oh, really?
He has no opinions on Creed, apparently.
Yeah, no. It wasn't a fan.
Yeah, no, I like Creed as well. I think I feel probably the same way about you as it. I've never really been, like, a big Rocky franchise fan. Like, they're fine. Like, the first one's alright, but I've never really sort of got into them as they got silly.
Yeah.
And I think this was good at returning it to its roots. And also, I don't know, I think it's just in the same year as Southpaw, which was just the most dull, melodramatic, ticking all of the cliches off a list boxing movie. To see Creed essentially do the exact same thing, just ticking cliches off a list, but do it with some vibrancy and sense of urgency and fun. It shows that, the same cliches can still be entertaining if they're handled well.
Yeah, well, I think Southpaw's problem is that it was written by Kurt Sutter.
Yeah, he's a Sons of Anarchy guy, right?
Yeah, who just does not know what subtlety is at all.
Yeah, I've only seen the first episode of Sons of Anarchy, and I gave up halfway through simply because I was watching it with my housemates. People were like, yeah, we need to watch this show, it's so good. And then the opening credit sequence happened, and we just all burst out laughing because it was the most America thing that we'd ever seen. And it's just like, yeah, we can't watch this.
It's so over the top, and like it's never, it takes itself way too seriously.
Yeah, but like people are obsessed with it. Like some people like rank it up with Breaking Bad, and it's just
like no.
I honestly can't see that.
Not at all. Hey there, Mr.
Mike.
Mike. No.
Mike there. It's showing up that he's here.
Yeah.
But.
Well, Mike's dead again, so I'll get your number 6.
Yeah, my number 6 is The Duke of Burgundy, which was that released in Australia this year, or did that just skip Australia altogether?
We're getting it on DVD next week.
I
think
straight to
that's
DVD there.
Yeah, I think that's all we got it as. I'm pretty sure I never remember seeing a theater release for it.
Okay, so yeah, The Duke of Burgundy. I mean, it's similar to The Lobster in how it uses something like an artificial context behind the film. Like in this case, it's stylized like sort of 70s European sort of arty softcore porn. But it does that in a way to sort of discuss the power mechanics in relationships. So it's something that's clearly an artificial setup for the film, but then uses that to discuss something emotional that's, again, weirdly affecting. despite its sort of apparent archness and deadpanness.
Because did you ever watch Berberian Sound Studio?
Yeah, I did. I felt that this was a stronger film than Berberian Sound Studio, simply because Berberian Sound Studio feels like a thesis by a film studies student who's like, yeah, I get giallo films.
Yeah.
I, get that they're actually a work of art and not just trash, and here's, my thesis on them. And that's what it felt like to me. Just felt sort of pretentious, whereas this, it never felt like that. It felt like somebody who would watch these trashy films, but then just thought, you know what, I can make one of these films, but deeper, like, emotionally.
Yeah, like, I was kind of with Berberian Sound Studio for most of it until it just feels like the end just gives up.
Yeah, the ending, I have no idea how to describe it.
It's like a 15-minute montage of nothing. And then it just finishes, and you're like, alright then.
And they're like, oh, right, this was named Best Film of the Year by multiple critics.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Now, before we continue, Mike, you there? Oh, Mike is dead.
Yeah, Mike is just no longer with us. He's on this year's filming primary.
Mike lives.
He was here.
Yeah. His spirit came to us.
I'm here.
Oh my god, it's like that film White Noise. What was your number 6?
I'm just hearing silence then. Just Mike saying fellas every few seconds.
I'm here.
Mike, what was your number 6 of the year?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit crackly, but we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
That's better.
It's all gone silent.
Yeah. I'm just more just waiting in anticipation.
Exactly, that's what I'm doing. Yeah, Mike's gone again. That's why I keep going silent. It's just like Mike's about to say something.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
I need to brace myself.
And it's just like it's like a roller coaster, and you just keep going up, and then you're like, oh, then the roller coaster just stops.
Oh, it's like that Simpsons episode where they got a theme park and like the ride's called like the ride of disappointment or something, and it just ends with everybody getting off going, oh.
Behold, the winds of change. Shall we just jump to number 5? Oh, unless Mike's here.
Yeah, I think Mike's here.
Ah, Mike lives.
I'm back. Hey, woo!
Woo!
I'm here to hopefully stay this time.
Yay.
So yeah, Mike, what's your number 6?
Number 6 is Mission Impossible 5.
Rogue Nation.
Rogue Nation. Loved it. Loved it.
So opera scene's really good?
Say that again?
The opera scene is really good?
Oh, that's so good. I love how, like, the huge, what you would assume by the trailers and advertisements and all that good stuff is the airplane scene would be, like, the huge kind of third to end act, and that's the thing opens it, and it's, like, a minute and a half, and then it's over.
Like, that thing was so overblown.
It's done. Wonderful. And then, like, with each, it was like, oh, well, you would think, like, especially, like, after what he did in Ghost Protocol, climbing up. I'm not going to pronounce that building because I can't. But, running up and down that building, that's like the big thing, and this is just, like, nothing. It's just a nice little setup for a movie that, with each action scene, gets smaller and smaller and smaller, and each one gets better and better and better. So, I love this series.
This main action set piece, Mission Impossible, is it the one where he's underwater, would you say? Because it's very hard to, like, sort of determine what the main one is this time, because each one of the franchise, it's always like, there's always a big action set piece. That's what the franchise is.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd probably have to give it to the opera scene.
Ooh. Yeah.
Oh,
I-
obviously, but actually, yeah.
The one that comes to my mind first is the car chase. I don't know why, but that's the first thing that happens. So I guess it's kind of pick your favorite.
Yeah,
Yes.
I quite liked 5 as well. My only problem with the film is that the villain's a bit crap.
He was yeah. But I don't know. He had more of a presence than the dude in the fourth one.
Oh yeah, totally. It's
Whatever
also just
his
like
name
he
was.
makes stupid decisions. They feel a
Yeah.
bit like, oh.
Yeah. Also, a weird thing about watching it in the UK is the fact that there's about a 5-minute period where they're talking about saving the Prime Minister's life, and everybody in the cinema was just like looking at each other and saying, "No, they're not going to save David Cameron's life." And then it's just like, "Oh no, it's just a fictitious one. Everybody's fine. They're not supporting the government at all."
And it is funny, like if you've seen like the thick of it, who they picked, or in the loop, to
Yeah.
the Prime Minister.
Yeah, I was hoping that it was a subtle like nod to In the Loop, but it's a completely different character, and I felt that there was a missed opportunity there.
Yeah.
Like just a little nod, but they only ever refer to him as Prime Minister, actually, don't they? Does
Yeah.
the yeah? So actually, it still could be. You know, I'll interpret it how I want.
It does. Yeah. I'll jump to number 5. I had The Man from U.N.C.L.E.
Ooh.
because half of it is because I'm kind of a Guy Ritchie fanboy, even though I hate 3 of his films. So I'm not like, I'm a fanboy for his good films, and for his bad films I'm just like, go to hell.
Are the 3 films that you don't like? Is the third one you don't like Rock and Roller? Then
No, the 3 are Swept Away, obviously.
yeah.
Revolver
Oh yeah, I was forgetting they did that.
and Sherlock Holmes 2.
Right, okay. I would say the 2 Sherlock Holmes ones and Man from U.N.C.L.E. are the only 3 of his I like. I don't really like his sort of gangster stuff. Actually, Snatch is alright. It has some good Brad Pitt stuff in it.
But you're English, you're like, you have to like Lock, Stock.
That is not true.
No, like Revolver is the definition of a pretentious film. Like, when people like kind of throw that word around, Revolver is the epitome of pretentious.
Isn't Andre 3000 in that?
Yeah, because the whole film is, you get excited because it's like Guy Ritchie doing another British gangster film with Jason Statham, so you're like, yay! And the whole film is Guy Ritchie telling you about this new religion he just joined. Because that's what happened in real life. He broke up with Madonna and joined this new, like, very spiritual religion. And the whole film is just his characters talking about it and acting out that religion through the medium of a British gangster film. So it's this awful, pointless, just pretentious mess. And I hate it so much. It's just a waste of everyone's time. But I did like Man from U.N.C.L.E.
Yeah, Man of U.N.C.L.E. was surprisingly good.
For me, it's got the best soundtrack of the year. Slightly
Yes.
beating Mad Max, just by an inch. Because Man from U.N.C.L.E. does have a lot of problems. The script sucks completely. And the characters, like the main 3, don't have the greatest chemistry.
But again, Alicia Vikander is the best thing in
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, and sometimes when Guy Ritchie does the stupid flashback bits, it's for information that the audience already knows, so it's just a waste of time. Especially the one at the end, when they explain what happened at the end through the flashback of something you literally just saw. But apart from that, I like everything else a lot.
Yeah, I thought it was very strange for Guy Ritchie because over here, like, his films are sort of mocked for like being all sort of like laddie and generic, you know, in terms of like his old gangster films. So this was a film that, in many places, was kind of cool. Like, like how he like certain shots were framed. Like there's that sequence. It's been a few months since I've watched it, so forgive me if I'm not describing this very well. But there's like a sort of boat hijacking sequence, but instead of like that's only filmed like through a rear view mirror, whilst the focus is on one of the characters eating a sandwich.
Yeah.
And it was just like it repeatedly defies conventions of how action movies are supposed to look, and I thought that was pretty good. I really liked it more than I thought I would.
Yeah, because that's the thing.
Yeah,
the trailers didn't really give much confidence.
Well, it was the last of the spy movies this year, wasn't it? Because you had Kingsman, Mission Impossible, wasn't
Spy.
that something else too? Spy. Okay, so yeah, Spy, and then that's the last one. So it's kind of like fatigue set in, and it was released at a kind of bad time in the summer too. So
Yeah, I think it was a flop, wasn't it? I know it disappeared
yeah,
from the for about a week.
That and like I told a lot of people after I saw, I was like, oh, I saw The Man from U.N.C.L.E., and a lot of people just hadn't heard of it.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It is rebooting a franchise that not many people, like sort of contemporary audiences, have heard of. Like I'm completely ignorant of that as well. But hey, I watched it.
Yeah, I didn't expect, because even though I'm a Guy Ritchie fanboy, I didn't expect to like it because their trailers were pretty middling and the poster kind of sucked. And Guy Ritchie can be a bit hit and miss, but no, I really liked it. Mike, what was your number 5?
Sicario.
Sick.
Yep, I really loved it. As we've already said. Yeah, Roger Deakins. Man, he's good. He knows how to light a scene. And I always botched the director's name, Denis Villeneuve or whatever it is.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
I've never said it out loud.
With Prisoners, with Enemy, and now this one. I was really kind of dreading him doing a Blade Runner sequel or the Blade Runner sequel, and now it's like, yeah, man, go for it. Like, you know what you're doing, so give me more. I need more of his stuff.
Yeah, more than any other filmmaker, he's really good at conjuring a sense of dread.
Yeah.
Like, just Sicario, even just scenes of people talking, just the long takes, just make them intense, unbearably intense. Also, there's some great imagery. Like, there's a scene when they first arrive in Mexico, and there's like a body being hung from a motorway bridge, and it's just like, wow,
Yeah.
It's gruesome in a way that's sort of stereotypical, but I say Roger Deakins makes it look like something you've never seen before.
Yeah.
Your number 5?
My number 5 was Star Wars, but we've covered that already, so let's skip to your number 4.
Number 4 would have to be The Gift.
I thought it was one of the better
Excellent.
written films of the year. Like, I would actually give this screenplay nomination, even though it won't get one.
My turn?
Hello? That's better.
Are you guys there?
That's better.
Yeah, we're here.
Sweet.
So yeah, I'd probably give The Gift a screenplay nomination because it's really well written. Because if you rewatch, it's a film that really works when you rewatch it. Have you guys seen it?
Yeah, I've seen it in the cinema. I really
I've
enjoyed
seen
it.
it.
It's probably in my top 20.
I didn't really care for it. Patrick Bateman I can't take him seriously. All I got stuck in my head is, from basically everything else he's been in. So it was so hard for me to wrap my head around him being a bully too. I mean, I was just like, I just didn't buy it.
Yeah, like there is some problems with the film, like
like there's a lot of, because it is Bloomhouse, there is some cheap like jump scare stuff in it.
Sure.
And like
Yeah.
there's a couple of plot things which don't really work, like the kidnapping of the dog, or one of the reason why he loses his job at the end felt a bit like they were really just heaving it on the main character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that felt a bit lazy. Like, oh, we caught you. We know it was you that did all those emails. You're fired now. And I felt like a bit like, oh, okay then. That was a bit rushed.
I felt that the jump scares were actually done pretty well, though, simply because the audience I was watching it with just, for some reason, lost their shit at the dog jump scare,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it made me laugh quite loudly. So,
Audience I was with lost it at the shower one.
yeah, no, that was one of those, like,
That was a
like
pretty-
sort of dressed to kill sort of moment.
Yeah.
And, yeah, it was, you knew what was coming, so I couldn't jump at that one. But the dog one, that was well done. I liked that one.
And yeah, the only other lazy thing I'd say is like Jason Bateman writing weirdo on his whiteboard.
Yeah.
Yeah, it felt a bit like he's only
Like,
doing
very-
that. Yeah, it felt like he's only doing that because the script needed it to do so. So, Josh, wow, Joel Edgerton could be like, oh, okay, he's not changed, because no one would actually just write weirdo on their whiteboard. But that's just nitpicking. But apart from that, no, there's a lot that they set up in the first half which actually pays off in the second, which I liked.
Yeah, it should have been a bigger
I
hit
should
than it
probably-
was as well. It's quite Gone Girl, but for this year, I would say,
Yeah,
in terms of it being sort of like a 90s sort of movie, if that makes any sense.
yeah, because of obviously Joel Edgerton is like Australian. It a lot of it felt like an Australian film, like what would be made over here, except for it had slightly better production values. Like I
Was
imagine,
it in Australia?
it got advertised a lot. There was a lot of and like a lot of just like, oh, it's Australian Joel Edgerton's new film, sort of thing over here. Like he got a lot of press for that, but
For being Australian?
yeah, I don't know how, like if it did all right money wise, but I think it would have done okay.
Yeah. Because it was really good, and it's annoying that it wasn't as big as it was, because it seems like one of those films that's sort of designed to be a water cooler moment in the same way that Gone Girl was, or that Girl on a Train film is probably going to be later this year.
Yep.
So yeah, but I thought it was very well done, and it was a big surprise for me.
Yeah, no, because I actually like a film where I kind of don't know where they're going with it. But yeah, what was your number 4, Mike?
Crimson Peak.
Oh. Wait, did you like it,
Left
Alistair?
Field.
Hello?
Hello. What did you say?
I think we lost Alistair.
I'm just waiting for some.
Oh yeah, okay,
like,
yeah. So yeah, what do you like about it, Mike?
Did you guys like it?
I was firmly on the fence about it. I liked the production design, but I felt it was a bit. It didn't know which genre it wanted to stick to, and ended up being sort of a mashup of genres that didn't really fit together.
Yeah, I'm with Alistair on this one.
Okay. The production, yeah, that set, the is it Allerdale Hall? God, that thing is
Yeah.
huge. That was crazy. I was definitely on the fence when I saw it. But then just kind of working through like what he was doing with like taking gothic lore, the big kind of thematics of love, and kind of turning it on its head with the incest. And then it kind of had that similar feel too of obviously of him kind of working with the Devil's Backbone, kind of ghosts inhabiting being, manifestations of the past. That kind of stuff, I don't know, it kind of bothered me, but the more I thought about it and kind of worked through it all, I actually really think it works incredibly well.
But also, a lot of the stuff with the ghost and the voiceover is identical to The Devil's Backbone as well. It's just like Del Toro's just sort of rehashing his own stuff.
Yeah, it's definitely pretty, basically it's, but that's kind of the things that, I don't know, a lot of writers have done over time. If they've taken the same sort of story, same sort of things, and kind of reworked it, see if there's things that they didn't like the first time around and gone back and see if they can kind of get to where they want it to be. So I don't know. It didn't really bother me. I mean, it kind of did again at first, and that's why I was kind of on the fence on it. But I worked through it for myself, so
did it do well?
Wonderful.
It did like I can't remember. Like, it bombed, didn't it?
Yeah, it was a.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think I could like. When I saw it opening day, and I was the only one in the theater with my friend.
Yeah.
I saw the first screening, and the only people in there were employees from my cinema.
Oof.
Well, it's weird, too, because they marketed it as this, like, super horror movie. And then there was some quote on IMDb, which I remember reading, maybe last year or something, about how Tom Hiddleston said it was the scariest script he'd ever read, and then you see it, and it's like, well, this isn't scary, and I don't know if that's kind of maybe the problem is people were expecting like a super serious kind of really dark, I mean like violent, well like I said it's violently dark, just like super serious dour kind of movie, and it's not that at all. It's Del Toro's take on gothic romance. So yeah, it's definitely an odd movie, but
I mean, you need to compare the screenplay to the other screenplays Tom Hiddleston's read then. So, I mean, it could easily be the scariest he's ever read. He just may have only read somebody's screenplay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I think what do you guys think of Charlie Hunnam?
Charlie Hunnam,
he's fine.
Very bland.
He's all right. But he's Australian, isn't he?
Nah, British.
Yeah,
oh, okay.
But you wouldn't know from his accent because it's all over the shop.
Right, exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, he's a British guy, and it sounds like an American putting on a British accent.
Yeah.
And it's not even transatlantic because his speaking voice is so strange. I can't really pin his accent to any location in the UK. It's all over the shop.
Yeah, like his Sons of Anarchy. His Sons of Anarchy, like, is fine. And
no, he's fine when he's doing American. Like, I haven't really, as I said earlier, I hadn't really watched Sons of Anarchy, but Pacific Rim, like, it was fine, He was exactly what he needed to be, just sort of like a generic action hero.
It was off. It was off for an American. But I don't know. I'm going to probably be on the extreme outskirts on this, but Pacific Rim is my favorite Del Toro movie, so.
Oh no, I really liked it. It's not my favourite, but it is a great movie and quite underrated as well. And I'm really looking forward to the sequel if it happens.
If it ever happens, yeah. Keeping my fingers crossed on that. But if Del Toro did another Hellboy, I'd be totally up for that too. So, but again, who knows if would ever even happen? So,
even if Del Toro did another Crimson Peak, I'd still be up for it. I still think he's still one of my favourite directors, and I will still watch anything he does, even if it doesn't entirely work for me.
Well, I wonder what you would think if you saw it a second time. I mean, I just saw it once, but I don't know. I feel like
I have a feeling it could grow on me a second time. It's one of those that was so on the fence about it. I think that it may, and because so many people, because I wrote the review for Film Inquiry, and loads of people randomly responded to my tweet by saying you're wrong. So it was just like, yeah, if people are seeing something in it, then yeah, I should revisit it.
Have you ever watched The Strain, the TV show that he's doing?
No.
Yeah, I watched the first episode of that, and it seemed sort of it. It didn't seem very good, and that was the episode he directed as well, the pilot episode. So yeah, I wasn't a fan.
Yeah, I don't have when it comes out on Blu-ray, I'll definitely get it, and I'll probably will rewatch it just to kind of see how I feel again.
It is a film that does need the Blu-ray treatment, I feel.
Yeah, I'm it's not one I'm not averse to rewatching it as opposed to some of the other films I saw this year.
Yeah, like some I just saw and knew that I would feel the exact same rewatching it, but Crimson Peak, it's I'm not sure how I would feel. I do want to get off this fence because it's not comfortable sitting here.
Because one film that I saw last year that I doubt I'll ever rewatch is Age of Ultron.
Yeah, I can agree with you on that. God, that was dull.
Yeah. That's the thing. It's just dull. It's just okay, cool.
Well, everybody just wanted to know what Hawkeye's backstory was.
Yeah, exactly. He's just some dude that lives on a farm. Cool. He hangs out with, what's her name? Velma?
Linda Cardellini.
Scooby-Doo. Did we get to your number 4, Alistair?
No, my number 4 is The Look of Silence.
Ooh. I can't wait to see that.
Yeah, no release over here yet.
Did that come out in Australia, Alex?
If it did, I didn't hear about it, but I haven't, so... I haven't even seen a DVD release for it yet. The Act of Killing took over a year for it to come out on DVD here, so...
Kind of strange with all the international publicity that it wasn't as well distributed. But
we haven't even thought, Australia hasn't even got an upcoming release date for Wild Tales.
Oh, Wild Tales is fantastic.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
Yeah, I just had to end up importing it from the UK.
Yeah, no, it's definitely worthwhile. Even though the best bit of Wild Tales is just a homage to Duel, but more violent.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, The Look of Silence, it's great. It's documentary filmmaking at its most harrowing, but also most human. I interviewed Joshua Oppenheimer, and that was a highlight of this year. Yeah, there's nothing I can really say about The Look of Silence. It's just one of those that it feels like an essential film, and that no words that I say, can ever live up to how good it is and how worthwhile I think it is, and how I feel that it's both journalism and documentary filmmaking at the peak of its powers. It's everything you want documentary filmmaking to be.
Do you prefer it or The Act of Killing?
Well, they work very well as companion pieces. I mean, lots of directors make 2 films and say they're companion pieces, and they don't really fit together, and these really complement each other. I do prefer The Look of Silence because it does feel, without all the sort of the surrealism of getting the killers to reenact the crimes of The Act of Killing, and this is just a straightforward human story. It is simpler and therefore more emotionally harrowing and affecting and human as a result of it.
Now, do you reckon they give it Best Documentary this year?
I mean, if they don't give it Best Documentary, then I have no idea what they would give it to, but
Amy.
In fairness, it's probably not going to win Best Documentary anyway.
It's going to be... I'm calling it Amy. Amy's going to win Best Doc.
Amy's fine, but...
It's easy to watch, How easy to watch is it to... I mean, because I'm sure, The Look of Silence takes a toll on you, whereas Amy is just hey, this lady sang really well, and then she died, Whereas this is this genocide,
I mean, Amy, I liked, but the issue with it, I still have the same issue with it as when I reviewed it, was it's basically it's about shaming the media and how they constantly, were harassing her during her life and how that, contributed to her, mental breakdown. But they're just doing the exact same thing from Beyond the Grave now.
Yeah,
Just like using all this old footage, like, oh, isn't it bad that they treated her this way? Let's have a look at how they treated her. And it's just, ugh. But it's still a well-made documentary. I just think that its central idea is flawed.
I still haven't even watched Amy, so I can't even...
Right, number 3, is it?
So number 3 is The Lobster.
Oh.
I've said it before, if the second half of the film was better, I would put it as my favourite film of the year. Because the first half is so strong, but then, obviously I can't spoil it, something happens in the middle which changes the film completely, and when it does, it loses a lot of its energy, it loses a lot of the comedy, and it just kind of gets a bit meandering and a bit boring. But it's still really good.
Yeah, I didn't feel that about the second half. It is the weaker half, but I think that's when all the sort of the thematic stuff about like relationships really comes to play. And yeah, and it also leads up to the best ending of the year.
Yeah. Like, I haven't seen a crowd, because I was in a full cinema, I haven't seen a crowd react like that to a film in quite a while, actually.
Yeah, it was the same in my screening, because mine was packed as well, but it was on a Saturday night.
Okay.
And yeah, it's just, the squirms were audible.
Yeah.
Like, people were just going, ah!
Yeah.
Ah!
I had people going like, no, like screaming like no at the screen.
It was really good. Like, you'll watch it again, and it'll be strange seeing it a second time when it comes out on Blu-ray, and just how will I react then? But,
the two audience things I've had this year was that, and when I watched Knight of Cups, I had about over half to 2/3 of the audience walk out.
Awesome.
I don't blame them though. Like, I thought the film was fine. I know some but I can get why you would absolutely hate it.
Yeah, my only big walkout thing I saw this year was Inherent Vice because I saw that twice, and both times a few people walked out, and it was just like I just assumed they just didn't understand, so they walked out.
Yeah.
Well, I want to see The Lobster really bad, so thank you for not spoiling it and teasing it enough to make me want to see it more. So
yeah,
I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, I don't want to, because it isn't out in America. There's like a lot that I don't want to get into.
Yeah.
I'm trying to speak vague as well. All you need to know is that you'll squirm.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I think I liked it more because I had a friend who went to Cannes last year, and he went into the after party of The Lobster. He like snuck in saying he was the friend of the producers. So like he went to the after party and like met John C. Reilly and stuff. So he had like obviously read about The Lobster, and he hadn't seen it, but he was just kept telling me about this film The Lobster, which got me interested. And I saw it and I was like, oh, that looks a bit weird, it looks a bit crap. So I kind of went into it with that mindset, and then it just really surprised me how much I liked it.
Yeah, no, my friends had the same opinion. They thought it looked terrible, but they still went with me anyway, and then it ended up being both their favourite film of the year. So, yeah, low expectations.
Yeah, I think because like, it was one of those things where, you know, they only released like one publicity picture, and it was a bit weird.
Yeah. I mean, and also the concept, like, to some people it sounds amazing, and to some people it's just like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to sell
so used to reality. People. They can't buy into surreal concepts.
You know, it's a hard one to like explain to people, but it's like, no, it works in the film.
Yeah, Mike, what was your number 3?
Number 3, I got like a 3-way tie for 3, 2, and 1. So I could interchange these next 3 at any place, and I'm still, well, no, I think number 1 is set. So for right now, we'll say Mad Max Fury Road is number 3. Yeah, I loved it.
That's the thing.
Every second of it.
Everyone's saying it. Everyone loves it. It's like...
And Alistair, you've kind of come around to not like it, right?
No, it's not that I don't like it. I am confused that the hype is still there for it, because I've seen it twice. The first time I saw it in the cinema, I saw it in 3D because the projector for the 2D screening broke, and they said, right, you have to watch it in 3D now. And the 3D gave me a headache, but it was like, yeah, I appreciate this is a well-directed action movie, but because it's just constant action, and I'm watching it in 3D, and this does not need to be seen in 3D. It gave me a headache. Fine, I'll revisit this in 2D. And I revisited it in 2D, and I got bored towards the end, and I realise this is sacrilegious to say this now, because it's a film that everybody loves, but just the constant nature of the action, at one point, I wanted more. I understand that George Miller's just thrown everything at the wall, and I love that he's finally been able to realise the post-apocalyptic fantasias that, the original trilogy could never make. And I appreciate that. It's a labour of love, but I don't know, I wanted more than just action. Because it is just people driving. And the second time I watched it with my dad, and he just said, right, this is a film set in a post-apocalyptic society without, when there's very little petrol. So why are they wasting all the petrol chasing that one vehicle? They've got all of these tanks and guitar flamethrowers, and they're all just holding that one thing. They could have just sent one fleet out to get it instead of just this entire army.
But then you wouldn't have had all the crazy car crashes and all the cool cars and all the crazy stuff.
Yeah, I did say that to him. I did say, yeah, that's not the most valid criticism. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's not a bad film. I think it's, by any means, it's well-directed action, but it is, I don't know, it's weird. Because there's it's not got an emotionally involving narrative, it's just nuts and bolts B-movie narrative. And because there's... Oh yeah, done excellently, but because there's... Yeah, there's no sort of emotional involvement with the characters, in particular. Even though Furiosa is obviously badass, there's no...
No.
Yeah, I didn't feel emotionally connected to the characters, and so it felt sort of... I did feel a distance between me and the film. And this is a nitpick. This is an Alex Lyons style nitpick.
Yo.
But at the start, when he's in those sort of underground water tunnels and those people are chasing him, and the visions of his daughter appear in front of his face, that is some of the worst CGI in a mega budget blockbuster ever. His daughter just appealing, just in front of him with her hand. It's awful effects, and it's just no, come on, really?
I love it. It's supposed to be this jarring kind of, you don't know what the hell's going on, and we're just going to shove all this shit in your face and overload the senses with insanity. And God, you would have to be insane to make a movie like that, wouldn't you?
Oh, well, yeah, that's what I like. I like that this film was made, but I am sort of confused that it is still being held as one of the best films of the year. Best blockbuster, well, one of the best blockbusters. I can understand, but of all the films this year, I am confused that this is held so highly by people. I think fair play to George Miller. I will watch the next one, if there is a next one, because I did like it. I'm not fully on the hype train as everybody else is.
I think it purely is just because there hasn't been that much this year.
Well, and it's such a contrast to everything else, which is big CGI, and obviously there is stuff, and there's obviously a bunch of digital grading and all that kind of stuff. But it's so grounded in, what you said, Alistair, and nuts and bolts. I mean, it's real gritty and hard, and it's, for some reason, it still confuses me why it's rated R, because there's not even an F-bomb, and there's violence, but it's not that extreme, and there's no nudity. Well, there's kind of partial nudity, but it's too far away to really see.
That's probably the reason why it's rated R, because of women being milked. I don't think you can show in a PG-13 film.
Oh, okay. Now that would, but still, that's bizarre though. When you have, I don't know, Age of Ultron, where thousands of people are getting killed, or I don't know, Jurassic World with dinosaurs just tear apart human beings, and that's just fine.
And you're supposed
it's just weird though. It's so weird how this is such a contrast to kind of everything else, and it's badass.
Yeah. I mean, certainly in comparison to the two films you just listed, then Mad Max Fury Road is a masterpiece. But again, I think, I think that if this came out any other year, people would be more the same as me. Like, yeah, it's great action movie, but it's not one of the best films of the year.
Yeah.
I think the bar's just low this year.
Plus, I think it's more of a theater experience than than one that you watch at home.
Yeah, I think that also may have played into it. As I say, when I saw it in the cinema, it was in 3D, not by my wishes. And if I saw it in 2D in the cinema, then I imagine I would be on the same page as everybody else. But now I can never have that experience.
What was your number 3?
My number 3 is a film that came out in some international territories in 2014, but came out in the UK and US in 2015, so I'm including it. It's a Mommy, the Canadian film directed by Xavier Dolan. I don't know if it's been released in Australia.
Yeah, I just got the DVD last week.
Alright, well, it's really good. It's just a really emotionally effective story. It's just like sort of quiet, well, not quiet actually, it's a very loud, operatic melodrama, but, in a sort of social realist setting. And it has some of the best cinema sequences this year, because the thing is, it's framed in like an awkward aspect ratio that makes it look like sort of an Instagram post, and then in 2 sequences that the aspect ratio just like the screen just expands to full screen, and it's just some of the most joyous movie moments this year.
Is it done for like a proper reason though, or is it just like random?
Oh no, it's done for a proper reason. It's like when the characters' lives are about to be. It seems like they're about to make a breakthrough in their lives, and then when it readjusts to normal size, it's like the disappointment of reality has set in yet again.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've reviewed it for the site, and I'll probably wrote it better on there. All I know is that I wasn't expecting to be bowled over by it, but it was really well acted, really well written. It's over the top, yet still feels honest and emotionally real, which is a bizarre combination, yet it's pulled off here. And the soundtrack is full of songs that are terrible. Like, there's Celine Dion on there, there's Oasis on there, and yet Xavier Dolan manages to use them in a way that feels cinematic, and you actually leave thinking, you know what, those songs are pretty good. And yeah, it's strange for that to happen. But yeah, great characters, great acting, great writing, great directing. What more could you want?
One of the only things that stops me from watching it is I kind of think Xavier Dolan's a bit of a douche.
Yes. So I've only seen one of other of his films, which was Lawrence Anyways, which was a film that could be 45 minutes shorter, but was stretched out to epic lengths that weren't justified. But yeah, here it's hard to argue against this being brilliant. But I have seen some. It's weird. It got like glowing reviews here in the UK, but I read like some US reviews, and like they went from really glowing positive to like really negative. So I don't know. All I know is I loved it.
I got a friend who really, really liked it, and that's kind of what convinced me to get the DVD.
Yeah, you should give it a go. I think that you may have a fun nitpicking time with it, though. I think that there's probably like a ton of holes. There is actually one plot hole that has just come to mind, actually, that I think that you will latch onto. But aside from that, I mean, I don't know, when cinema creates these sort of characters who are just, I don't know, sort of appalling in many ways and over the top, but without reducing them to caricature, and you actually, start becoming invested in their lives no matter how awful they can be, that's pretty remarkable achievement.
So then we get to number 2. And my number 2 is pretty predictable. It's just Mad Max.
Which one?
Film that's
I've never
on
heard of
everybody's list but mine.
Mad Max.
Beyond Thunderdome, actually.
There we go.
Yeah.
Heyo.
I saw that for the first time this year, Beyond Thunderdome, and it's bonkers, like how misjudged it is.
Yeah, it really is just really questionable.
Like the fighting scene in the Thunderdome, where Mel Gibson goes in and there's like somebody in like a suit of armor, and he starts, attacking them, and then the person takes off the helmet, and I think they've got Down syndrome.
Yeah.
And it's just like, what the hell is happening? Who thought that a good idea?
You kind of realize though that like it's co-directed by George Miller and some other Australian.
Right, yeah. It
And so-
doesn't really feel like a George Miller film, but
No, so you kind of feel like the first half is George Miller, and then like the second half is when the other person kicks in.
yeah. But that being said, We Don't Need Another Hero is a great song, so thanks for that.
Such a weird opening to a film, especially
Yeah.
Mad Max.
It's such a wonderful franchise too, because there's like, I guess you'd have to call it an anthology, but they're all 4 of them are completely different,
Yeah.
and the only thing that ties them together besides the apocalyptic wasteland would be the character of Max.
Yeah.
And it's kind of nice that he kind of reinvents it too each time.
Yeah, it's sort of like a Bond
Yeah.
franchise then.
Yeah, basically.
So,
Well-
Mike, what was your number 2 of 2020?
My number 2 would be The Revenant.
Oh.
But again, I don't know. That Mad Max, I don't know. I'm going back and forth between which one I'm gonna official. Yeah. So yeah, The Revenant.
Right, okay, yet to be seen, and I think I've worked out your number 1, Mike. So it's like, right, I
I
haven't.
wonder what it might be.
So yeah, my number 2 of 2015 is Carol, which again, it's if Mommy, my number 3, was like really in your face and over cranked in making you care about these characters, then Carol is like really nice and understated, and it's perfectly pitched. I can sort of see why some people would think it was boring, but it's so emotionally investing that I never became bored. I was on its side immediately. It's I don't know. It's great to see like a sort of love story between 2 people of the same sex who, like, their sexuality isn't the context. If that makes any sense, it's like it's just like 2 people in love. It doesn't matter that they're, in this case, lesbians. It's just they're 2 people in love, and I like that. That's refreshing. Like, it isn't constantly referring back to their sexuality or anything, and yeah, it's like really charming in a way, but also, of course, it's sad and all of this other stuff. There's nothing I can say about Carol that nobody else has said already, and I haven't already said already. So I'll just say, yeah, Carol, number 2. It's great.
Okay.
I thought it was fine.
I haven't seen it.
Would it have been in your top 20, Alex?
Yeah, why not?
We can just throw anything in there now.
Yeah, pretty much. This is kind of like that box in your cupboard where it's just like, But yeah, it actually ended on a happier, more optimistic note than I thought it would.
Yeah, it was optimistic but still ambiguous,
Yeah.
I felt. And as I said, I'm a sucker for ambiguous endings. So, yeah, it really got me. And, yeah, it's just it's really good. Like, I can't think of a single criticism I have of it, which is rare for me.
How does it compare to like Far From Heaven? Because I don't know. Todd Haynes has always been kind of. I don't know. I'm just not sold on. I don't know this. movie. Sell me.
Yeah, Far From Heaven's like a deliberate sort of pastiche of like that melodrama, whereas this just it's sort of inspired by those melodramas, but it isn't like stylized in any particularly sort of referential way.
Okay.
It feels of that genre without, you know, pastiching that genre to the levels of parody.
Okay.
A lot of people made the comparison that it does for the 50s what Mad Men does for the 60s. Like there's cigarette smoke constantly hanging in the air. The period design is just perfectly executed to the point that you think that they actually went back in time to film in that period. So, yeah. God, there's so many great things about this movie. But I'm not going to turn into sort of gushing fan.
Right.
Alright. My number 1 was Kingsman.
Oh.
Much to Alistair's.
Yeah. Not a fan.
But no, I really, really... That's another one like friggin' like Man from U.N.C.L.E. and to an extent The Lobster, where the trailer really, really sucked. And the posters and that, and I had zero interest in the film, even though I think Matthew Vaughn's a really good director and probably one of the strongest working today. But I kind of heard good things out of festivals, so it kind of made me hopeful. And when I saw it in the cinema, I just loved it. And I've rewatched it several times since then, and I still really, really like it. I kind of like that it's a mainstream film that kind of goes screw you, kind of just does whatever it wants.
Yeah, I'm not going to go full criticism with this because I just really didn't like it. I do like Matthew Vaughn a lot, but this was the film where it was just his because he's a right-wing person, and knowing his politics, that usually hasn't affected my enjoyment of his films. Like Kick-Ass is brilliant. I'm a fan of all of them, but Kick-Ass in particular. And so knowing his politics, obviously, you can separate the art from the artist. But in this case, its view of working class people felt like the sort of how a right-wing person would view working class people. It felt tone deaf. So that entire element just annoyed me. Also, the fact that Colin Firth is apparently a gentleman, and all of the newspapers on the wall of his office are the Sun newspaper, which is the crappiest right-wing tabloid newspaper that, naturally gave this film 5 stars, which was on the posters all over here, with the tagline something like, "It's more kick-ass than Bond," or something. 5 stars, the Sun. Yeah. So that's just, they're minor quibbles about, sort of, it did feel like if you're ignorant of the director's political views, I'm sure it's great. And I am willing to rewatch this, by the way, because I want to be on the same page. But all I know is, me and one of my friends went to watch it, and we just walked out, laughing, because it was it just seems like a bunch of stuff happens. There's 2 great sequences. I like the church sequence. I like the everybody punching each other to Baby Give It Up. They're 2 great sequences. But it is just lost in something trying to be edgy for the sake of being edgy, So I can't even speak coherently about it.
All I can say is just try to give it a rewatch to see what you think.
I am willing to rewatch it because it is only me and my friend who appear to be the dissenting voices in this, and I really want to be on the same page as everybody else because I really want to like this. It's Kick-Ass meets Bond, essentially. But
yeah.
And the sexism issue. Jesus Christ, I didn't even get there. But
I'll give you that one.
Because it ends before the end credits. The final shot is of that woman's ass.
It's probably the most hilarious ending shot on a film I've seen in quite a long time.
Right.
I agree.
But is it true that on the home video release they've removed that shot?
Not over here.
Yeah,
right.
Definitely not in the US either.
Oh, right, okay. I'm sure somebody told me, because I'm talked about this with somebody who didn't see it at the cinema. They just watched it at home when they bought it. And I was just having a rant about that scene, and they said that scene wasn't in the film, and it was like, what, cut it out? And Matthew Vaughn's response to people criticising that scene was, yeah, it's just bloody feminists complaining, and it's like, well done, you are an asshole there. Jesus.
It's such an end, because that's like what I was saying, how this film is just like screwed, just to end a film on that note.
Yeah.
And just like, yeah, that's where we're ending it.
It's literally ending on some note.
Yeah. That it's just like, I laugh a lot when I saw that ending shot in the cinema. Me and my friend laughed for ages. And just the audacity to do that.
Yeah, I think I was laughing at it and not with it, because I did laugh. There's just a cut to credits at that point. Just Mark Strong going, ugh, and closing his laptop screen or something, and then just directed by Matthew Vaughn.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that's the end of the film.
I found it slightly more funnier because one of the friends I was with, he pitches me movie ideas which are pretty much that.
Okay.
Like Liam Neeson films that kind of end in sex scenes and all this. Like that's what he wants to make. So like when we both saw it, I was like, holy crap, that's a film that you would make.
It's like in It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, where Dennis, there's an episode where they're making a film called they're trying to make a film with Dolph Lundgren called The Fifth Sense, about how he's a giant nose who can smell crime before it happens. And one of the characters wants to make it include a full penetrative sex scene, because that is what the cinema is missing.
Wonderful. Did you guys like the exploding head sequence? Because that, to me, that was the funniest scene for me. Probably of the entire year. That was. I don't think I've laughed harder, as opposed to something like being really bad.
That's when the film just goes off the rails completely.
My problem with that scene is the fact that it was trying to position itself as anti-establishment, and Matthew Vaughn is a person who fully supports the establishment that I'm in, and that
makes sense. That makes sense.
It felt like he was just trying to. He's trying to be edgy, but there's no edge about him. Like, he is fully supporting my government, and it's just, yeah, I can't buy any political satire from a person who loves the political situation I'm currently in.
So, we know, but for the people listening, what is Mike's number one film?
It's this movie called Ridiculous Six, starring Adam Sandler. It's on Netflix. Everybody should go watch it.
It's got Jorge Garcia in it.
Alvin and the Chipmunks, the road chip to be read out.
Road chip. Oh, the road chip. If only every movie could be the road chip. No, my number one pick is The Hateful Eight, by that one guy named Quentin Tarantino. Shot in 70mm, Ultra Panavision lenses, Roadshow edition. Amazing. But you guys aren't getting, which bums me out, because, oh my gosh, I went and saw the regular...
I was going to get it.
Right, yeah.
Yesterday, when they officially announced, there's been, because Picture House, a UK distributor, who own all 70mm venues in the UK outside of London, they've had some issue rights with the distributor, and now they're dropping the film altogether, so now I can only watch it in standard digital.
Well, on Sunday I went and saw the wide, just regular kind of release, and the intermission in the 70, in the Roadshow version is, oh my gosh, it just makes the picture so much more. Well, I can't say it, really, and it's a better experience. And the 4 or 5 minutes that they cut from, the actual movie, are sorely missed. So, but still, you should go see it and enjoy it. So, you won't know the difference.
Okay.
Weird.
But I wish I did know the difference.
One weird thing is that in the Australian cinemas, obviously because they're just lazy, the Australian distributors are just lazy. The Australian trailer is just the same as the American trailer, so it actually says at the end, go see it in 70mm.
Oh no, that's the same for the UK trailer, because my cinema is showing that trailer, and I'm just like, but that's just making people go to cinemas that aren't ours. Why are we showing this? But although I fully encourage that, because, as I said, I don't work at the best cinema, So I fully encourage that.
Is there much more you can say without spoiling it?
Yeah. I'll just say a couple of things about why I liked it. He he goes kind of opposite of what he does in Django and Inglourious Bastards, and it's not so much a revisionist kind of movie. It's more like how you have firmly established good guys and bad guys in those last two movies, and now in this one, it's like everybody's a bad guy. Hence the title. I've heard people complain it's boring, that it's not his best because it doesn't have that typical kind of sugary kind of pop aesthetic. Like there's nothing he's referencing in this movie. It's just this movie and then history. And then it's so bleak and dark and shit hits the fan in a bunch of ways, and it's honestly ends on a high note. So I can't say anything other than that. And so, yep, there we go.
I look forward to seeing it in without the 4 minutes that really make the film.
Right, yeah.
But one cinema in Leeds, my city, is showing it with an intermission, but apparently, because they've got fixed screens, so they can't change to the right aspect ratio, so it's going to be in a very letterboxed format, and it's annoying. There's pros and cons to watching it at every cinema. No cinema has the right setup for Tarantino near me. So I can imagine this just confusing, just casual punters, why it isn't fitting the screen or whatever.
Yeah. A friend of mine saw it, not in the same city, and he was saying that he felt like digital projection was better because a lot of the version of the 70mm that he saw was out of focus, and I was like, that must have been the camera or the operator or something, because the version I saw, it's the clearest, sharpest, most detailed images I've ever seen in the theater.
Yeah, no, that happened before. Some projectors in America have just sort of failed due to the
yeah,
and they've just been showing parts of the film just completely black, and you can only hear the talking.
Yeah, well, it's definitely a rare thing, and that's the thing too. I mean, as film lovers, I've never seen a movie. Well, I've seen movies that have been shot in 70mm, but I've never seen it projected this way, in this type of audio with an intermission and an overture, and it's such a wonderful experience. And even if the movie is quote unquote not as good as other Tarantino movies or one of the better movies of the year, it's still it's this thing that I've never had before, and who knows if I'll ever get it again. And it's an enthralling experience from that standpoint.
Well, Christopher Nolan's next film is apparently in 70mm, so maybe that will appear near me in 70mm. Who knows? Because the Hateful Eight and The Master both had the same distributor over here, and apparently when The Master came out, that was supposed to be in 70mm in multiple places, but the distributor fucked up then, and it could only be shown in London. Now they've fucked up again, it can only be shown in London. So yeah, it's annoying. I could make a 4-hour train journey to London to watch it, but it's so expensive.
Right, yeah.
Is it still good in digital, right? It's still the best.
Oh, no, it's great. It was just, I could tell the difference. In the digital, it seemed, I don't know, just not as vibrant, not as sharp.
Hateful.
Yeah, there you go.
And Alistair's number one.
My number one of the year is Inside Out. Disney
Woo!
Pixar. One of Pixar's best films. There's nothing to say about Inside Out that nobody hasn't said already. It really should have been in the Best Picture Oscar race, but I think it's probably just been relegated to animated feature status. But, it's a film that introduces a weird concept and opens with a lot of sort of exposition as to, how the inside of Riley's head works, but everything is lovingly imagined to a way that you just suspend disbelief and go with it, because it's that makes sense. I can go with that. The characters are also, despite all being like one emotion, they never feel one note. They feel like involving, and even though, you know, their big sort of their reason for being is one emotion, they still all manage to be engaging and funny all the way through. Yeah, and as I say, it's emotionally affecting. Like, everybody's pointed that out. I watched it with a friend who just was crying ridiculously, and it's so good. You forgive Pixar for introducing before the film having lava, which is terrible. That's how good Inside Out is. You forgive them for making a film with a singing volcano.
Oh my god, I don't even want to talk about lava.
It is phenomenal how misjudged lava is. It's just because Pixar are capable of doing good shots, but a sort of tropical musical involving two anthropomorphic singing volcanoes isn't the best idea.
Yeah, it's just the animation is like whatever, you know. It's more so just it just feels like a bad improv.
Yeah, and it's the fact that it's the same chords over and over again for about 5 minutes.
Yeah,
And it's just like there's no progression in the song.
Some douche like
God,
that's just
I
like
couldn't even sing you the song. It's that forgettable.
yeah, like it's just like some douche just like busking on the side of the road.
Yeah. So, yeah, Lava, terrible, but Inside Out, immediately from its opening minutes, Inside Out just hooks you. And it's just like, it's Pixar back on form, and even though I haven't seen The Good Dinosaur, but they appear to have slid back off form from what people are saying.
Yeah,
It is a reminder that they are still capable of good animation, and that right now, animation is, like, most animation in the mainstream is operating on a high level. Like, if you ignore the Minions movie, then this might as well be a golden age.
yeah, good dinosaurs just crap. It's just absolute crap. The short though is much better than Lava.
Oh yeah, Sanjay's Super Team. I have seen that short, and yeah, I did really dig that short. I feel like if that was paired with Inside Out and Lava was paired with The Good Dinosaur, then all would be right with the world.
Yeah.
But instead, we live in a place where I've been subjected to lava.
It truly is terrible. Well, before we head out, I just want to list off a couple of the worst films we saw this year.
Okay.
In no specific order, just ones that off the top of your head that you just absolutely disliked. Or thought just genuinely were the worst films. Obviously, I've already said Jurassic World. What do you guys think?
I would say, yeah, Jurassic World. I hated Age of Ultron, especially. That was garbage.
So bland.
And just terrible. Like the scenes are just terribly shot. Like Marvel has this issue, I think, where they're like every single action scene has to be super fast, and it's like a nauseating experience because there's so much debris and shit coming into the frame that I don't know where the hell to look. And this was just like too much. Like the fight with the Iron Man and the Hulk was. I looked at my friend when it was over, and I was like, "What the hell just happened?" I had no idea where a fist was going, because everything was just debris, and then it was fast cutting and garbage.
But it is one of those that you can't even blame Joss Whedon because it was pretty much taken out of his hands by Marvel, from what I've read. So yeah, it's one of those films that just reeks of studio interference.
Because I wrote a top 10 worst films of the year list on my Facebook. I'll just rattle them off quickly. I had Me, Nell, and the Dying Girl.
Yeah, that's up there down there for me.
Fantastic Four.
Oh yeah.
Because Fantastic Four is technically not a film. It's broken. It's not a film.
It's an idea for a film.
Yeah, it's a bad work. It's a bad work print that got leaked.
But it's pretty interesting. Just the whole drama behind why that movie collapsed is pretty interesting.
Yeah, I can't wait for the documentary.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things where the film's about to get going. It's like, right, they've got their powers. It's about to kick off. 1 year later.
Yeah. And see you, bros. And it cuts back. We've all now mastered our powers, and you're like, oh, okay, cool.
And Kate Mara's wearing like the most obvious wig in cinematic history.
Yeah.
Like,
And then they just bring up the whole dad subplot. You were never around for me. Sorry, son. You're like, where did this come from?
and it's a good cast as well. That's the worst thing, is the fact that it's a good cast wasted. Like,
Yeah.
if this was a good movie, like, there should be a good movie for this cast, because I kind of want to see them as the Fantastic Four. They've just made it so dull
Yeah.
and just uninspiring in any way.
That's the problem. It's like, it's one of those films that's so bad, but like, you can't even recommend it to people because it's just boring.
Exactly. When I think of bad films, I think of colossal train wrecks.
Yeah.
Like, you want something like, not train wrecks, coincidentally, but like something like, I don't know, The Room or Birdemic. I mean,
Yeah.
they're obviously you go to bad films. That's what you want from a bad film, just some level of incompetency, but it's just dull.
Like, everyone seems bored in it.
Hmm.
The only good part of Fantastic Four is the black dad. Because he actually seems like he cares.
Ugh.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it's nitpicking to find things you like about Fantastic Four.
Yeah. Jurassic World obviously had Chappie.
Which I liked because it is a train wreck.
Chappie's
Like,
just absolute crap.
Oh, it contains a scene, like, how many... I did not expect to see a film involving a rubber chicken this year, and the fact that a rubber chicken is a vital plot point.
Yeah.
At one point, the most emotional sort of setup in the film is interrupted by, because it's got a rubber chicken being waved at Chappie, and it's supposed to be an emotional scene, and it's just like, yeah, stop waving that. I was about to do an impression, I'm not going to.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, stop waving that bloody chicken at me. And it was just like, wow, this is so misjudged. I kind of really like this. It's nonsense.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. And
No.
yeah, I'm drawn to it in some weird way.
Like what's the band? The South African band?
Oh, yeah, the Antwoord.
Yeah, that could be legitimately the worst casting like in the past.
But yeah,
5
Neil
years.
Blomkamp wanted Ninja for the lead role in Elysium.
I know.
It's bonkers.
It's I'm kind of slowly realizing that Neil Blomkamp had a fluke with District 9, and he just kind of sucks as a director.
Yeah, but in many ways, I'm still excited to see what he does next, because, like, this isn't, even though it's like a sort of generic AI storyline, Chappie is told in such a weird way that you have no idea what is going to happen at any given moment. It's, you were saying you want, like, a bad film to be fun. This is kind of what you want, really. It also has some fantastically awful dialogue. Like, at one point, Hugh Jackman is, like, threatening Dev Patel, and he says the line, "You are making me as angry as a frog in a sock."
Yeah.
And it's just like, somebody wrote that, and not just anybody, somebody who was nominated for Best Original Screenplay a few years ago.
Yeah, and like,
So,
Hugh Jackman's whole thing is that he wants these giant robots. Hugh Jackman's idea sucks. Like, I'm actually on the side of the people that turned his idea down, because his idea is crap.
and also the thing is, like, Dev Patel, he works at a weapons company, and he's like, I've got this idea, I've created this AI that could, like, think, and, it can review literature, and it's like, well, that's not really going to be helpful, because you're at a weapons company. Develop that in your own time. I mean, come on, they're obviously not going to give that funding.
Yeah, and then, like, he's just in some crappy cubicle.
Yeah. It's like, you couldn't get two places even further away from each other, like a weapons company, but it's just like some sort of generic office.
Yeah.
But
Also,
I had a lot of fun with Chappie.
I also had Selfless, but I don't think anyone saw that.
I didn't see that.
Nah. La Famille Belier, which is this big French film that I saw for the website, and it was just miserable. Hated it.
What's that called?
The English title's the Family Belier,
The Family. I'm now just
and it's
Belier. Here we go.
yeah,
Right.
it's supposed to be
I'm
like the
still
big
missing now.
foreign feel good film of the year, like Amelie and The Untouchables.
A young woman with deaf parents discovers she has an amazing singing voice. Yeah, I buy that as one of the worst films of the year.
Well, it's just that the parents are so hateable in the film, where instead of being like feeling good, I just hated the parent. Like the whole family are all awful to us.
Is it because, like, she is, they're deaf and they can't hear her singing voice, and yet they're like, they don't support her talent because they're not aware of it? Is it something like that?
No, they don't support her because they need her to run the farm.
Right, okay.
Because they're farmers, and because she can talk, she can conduct all their business.
Okay, right.
So
Yeah.
but then
Yeah, I want to add that to the watch list then.
yeah, it's just so it's really hateable film. It's just miserable. So I also had Spy.
Yeah. Yay.
It's a good movie though. I mean, and Jason Statham is clearly going to be robbed of the Best Supporting Actor nomination that he needs.
I had
Alex, I'm with you on this one.
Yay. I had Ricky and the Flash.
I haven't seen it.
That's another film that's like a complete mess in terms of like editing and stuff.
Who directed it? Was it
Jonathan
Diablo
Demme.
Cody?
No, Jonathan Demme did it.
Oh, that's right. Wow.
Yeah.
But Diablo Cody wrote it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah, it was
legit.
in my cinema for about a week, and I think it had about 5 people in the entire week watch it. So
It's two films. It's like 3 different films weirdly spliced together, and it's just all over the place. Like nothing gets resolved at the end. The plot, the initial plot is over in like 40 minutes. Like half the film is just musical performances by Meryl Streep.
Yeah. I mean, it's a very strange idea for DC to release a Flash movie with this new character, Ricky, in it.
Ricky,
Like,
yeah.
That must have really confused all the fanboys.
I know. They thought Meryl Streep would get all the audiences. They just didn't.
It was just such a mishmash of comic book movie and musical.
I know. My second one was Kill Me 3 Times. I don't know if you're aware of that one, Alistair.
Yeah, you've mentioned it on a Slack before. But yeah, I think it's straight to DVD over here.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I assume it got some form of UK release because there's Simon Pegg in it.
Yeah, actually, having UK actors in doesn't guarantee a UK release for anything. Like, Snowpiercer never came out over here.
Oh.
So, and like, Tilda Swinton's performance only makes sense to UK viewers, really. So the fact it was never released over here was kind of strange, but I saw it because I have access to US Netflix. So, yeah.
And my most hated one of the year was Taken 3.
Oh, that's just funny, though. That is just incompetent.
Well, the bagel thing saves it.
Yeah, the bagels. Oh, God, the bagels.
Look, the bagel thing is one of my favourite things in a film, but everything else is just absolute misery.
What happens in the scene? What happens in the scene? Because I didn't even bother to.
Well,
see
because
it.
like it's Taken 3, so who cares if we spoil it? But
Right.
pretty much in the end, after everything that goes down, whatever his stupid name is, Liam Neeson, Brian Mills, is exonerated and saved from all of his crimes, and according to Forrest Whitaker, it's all about the bagels.
The bagels were still warm.
Yeah, because
how I
the
know you didn't
bagels
kill your
that
wife.
Liam Neeson
You
bought
went
were
to get
still
bagels.
yeah. So who would get warm bagels, and then that's why he's innocent at the end.
Oh.
The
Wow.
thing is, it like when they go to the crime scene, Forrest Whitaker's just like, you know, fiddling around with these bagels, and then he still continues to just chase Liam Neeson for about an hour and a half before and all the destruction and death happens. And at the end, it was just like, I knew you were innocent all along. It's just like, why?
Yeah.
Why? Loads of innocent civilians have just been killed.
Yeah, he's
and
like,
you
yeah.
knew he was innocent all along.
Because of these bagels, and then they just like have a laugh and eat a bagel, and then the film just ends.
No, the other great bit is when Liam Neeson drives a car at full speed into a helicopter. Oh no, it's an airplane that's just taking off,
Yeah.
which is fantastic. Like, I was laughing through so much of the film. Like, the dull bits, I understand there's a ton of dull bits, but the bagels just kept me sane. So, yeah.
Well, because I saw it with a friend that, like, me and him used to be obsessed with the first film. So we kind of just saw it just to be like, let's just get this out of the way. And then, yeah, he raged hard at that film.
I just think it's so funny that it's impossible to rage at it. Yeah, and also because I watched it like a day before it came out in a sort of screening, a staff screening, and it was weird how it was divided. Like half the staff were just people who wanted to watch it, and the other half were like people like me who were just laughing the entire way through and ended up ruining it for the other people. And I felt bad, but it's just like it's so hard not to laugh at the bagels. I've not seen anything weirder or dumber in a film this year. That's just it's magical. It's utter magical.
Yeah,
this is the magic of the movies.
Because like when you say it like that, because like if a Will Ferrell film did it, you'd be like, oh yeah, whatever. But because it's so earnest and so serious about it.
Oh god, it's just so obvious. It's like a half-assed screenplay as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Forrest Whitaker having to be like, all right, that's my line.
Yeah, and the movie was a massive hit as well.
I know.
And some people actually liked it.
Yep.
So, yeah, that's how the world works.
Any other crap films you guys want to talk about?
Wait. No, go ahead. Go ahead, Alistair.
No, I'll let you go first. So I'm just like looking through my list to see if there's anything that I've got an interest.
I was just gonna take one last jab at Star Wars and say that my least favorite movie of the year was the first one we talked about. So.
Okay. Well, my least favorite film of the year that I've logged is Hot Tub Time Machine 2. Now, I know that just seems like, oh, it's a lowbrow comedy, so obviously, it's not meant to be liked. But the first one is really funny.
First one's one of my favourite comedies.
This one's just such an obvious cash grab, and it does the thing that I've realised a lot of comedy sequels do, is it does jokes about taboo subjects in a way that feels like they're just trying to... There isn't any jokes written about them. They just think that, oh, this subject matter is so inherently offensive and it will be funny. And that's just not how it works. I mean, it's not as bad as Horrible Bosses 2, which I think is the benchmark for just thinking that being offensive is funny without writing any proper jokes.
Hot Tub Time
Machine 2. It's the entire sort of sequence in Hot Tub Time Machine 2 that made my eyes just roll so hard that I felt I needed to go to the opticians. Was the entire sort of gay sex bit where
the reality
it's
TV show,
other than the fact that it's just two men like having sex, and it's like, and it goes on for about, and it feels like forever. This scene goes on, and it's just like, this joke isn't funny. There isn't even a joke here. It's just trying to be offensive for the sake of it.
I think they were kind of flawed from the start, because one of the big things that makes Hot Tub Time Machine work was that it was set in the 80s.
Yeah.
So, like, you've kind of got, like, a lot of the nostalgia and kind of, like, the guys riffing on each other, but a lot of it is riffing on the 80s as well.
Yeah.
And kind of a lot of the dumb stuff, and it's kind of like an ode to these goofy 80s films. But when they go into the future, it's just like, now they have to make everything up.
Yeah, and the stuff that they make up is just like, well, none of these films set in the future from the past. were realistic. So we'll just like make up any shit.
Yeah, so it's just like they're
It's
just making it
yeah,
up.
a game show where two men have to have sex and that's the joke.
Yeah,
And it's just like none of that is funny. It's just, and the fact that they think that that's a funny idea is the most annoying and kind of offensive thing about it. But besides, all of them knew it was shit anyway. You could see everybody in the film thinks it's shit, and they're just giving the money. So
Yeah,
I
like-
can't fully hate it in the way that I would hate, I don't know, say Horrible Bosses 2 or something.
yeah. I reckon they should have done it in the 90s. That would have been funny.
Yeah, I mean, that would be the logical point, but I think they were just trying to do a Back to the Future thing with it.
Yeah, no, it's sad.
I mean, there is one good, like, sort of joke in Hot Tub Time Machine 2, which is the Craig Robinson character, how he's just made a living just stealing other people's songs but saying they're his.
Yeah,
And that's kind of a funny idea, but it's not really done well enough.
yeah. No, there's like there's occasional like one-liners and stuff that I like. When it's
But,
just
yeah.
the three characters talking to each other, it's funny.
But it is, I don't know, it was just a soul-sucking experience for me. Just like a comedy. I just don't like comedy sequels, it turns out. Like, I think like the only comedy sequels I've liked are 22 Jump Street and Anchorman 2. That's like recently, of course. There's probably great ones in the past, but recently they're the only thing they've got it right because they've both got purposes to exist. Like, a comedy sequel that doesn't have a purpose to exist is possibly the worst type of film in the world. It's like it's hard to repeat a joke that's funny the first time if all you're doing is just doing it for the sake of it.
Yeah. I actually thought you were going to say Hangover too.
Oh no, I wasn't going to suggest that was a good film in any way.
Oh no, yeah, I thought you were going to say that's like the example of just the bad comedy sequel in terms of
No, I'm just sort
rehashing.
of indifferent about the Hangover sequels. Like, and the first Hangover, like, I liked it because I was 15 when it came out, so that's the right age for it, but now it's not that good.
No.
It's just a Phillips movie. I mean, it's not going to be the masterpiece.
3 is a miserable experience.
What's
One is a
miserable-
miserable experience.
Yeah.
Why you don't want to join our wolf pack, Mike?
Oh no, I'll join the Wolfpack with you guys, absolutely, any day. But if we're just gonna watch that movie, no, sorry.
The Hangover 3 is bizarre. Like,
It's so dark for some reason.
it's one of those films where it's a hangover movie without them getting drunk or having a hangover. It's a real... It's one
With
of those
no-
that I honestly forgot existed until you just mentioned it.
Yeah, because the thing with the Hangover 3 is it's a dark crime thriller that just happens to star the Hangover guys in it.
Yeah, it's really strange. And then it has that end credits bit where the joke is, oh, it's the Hangover 4, and
Yeah,
it's just like a joke at the expense of like the audience and audience expectations. And
Yeah.
it's just like, you just made us sit through this dirge of a movie. Like, and obviously there's people here wanting to see another Hangover movie. And it's essentially just an insult, and not even a clever insult. Like, yeah. I mean, I didn't care anyway. I was just watching it with friends. So when that bit happened, it was just as tedious as the rest of it. But like some people who actually, wanted to watch a Hangover movie, I mean, they didn't even do that right. It was just so incompetent. That's just
Well,
like
thanks,
the standard
fellas.
digital version then.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's been great talking to you guys. And,
Yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
thanks for coming
Sorry,
on.
I kept cutting out. I don't know what the hell my deal is.
Oh yeah, it's no problem. It's just the internet.
The internet.
It's
damn it.
3 countries coming together.
Oh.
3 continents as well.
Yeah.
Oh,
So-
yeah.
Real international podcast.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming on, fellas.
Yep, no worries.
And I'll
And yeah,
catch you all on Slack.
Yeah, yeah.
okay. See you
Because
later.
I
Talk
must.
to you guys soon.
Yeah. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.